everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to the African Queen Mo show. It is Friday, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Oh my goodness, we are getting so close to Christmas. It's amazing. I went shopping today and I discovered that people are actually selling trees. Where have I been? Beautiful trees and decorated stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I am late. But anyway, before I ramble on, let me introduce myself again. This is African Queen Mo here. I'm coming to you from the beautiful city of Nairobi. We usually have a Friday late night show, and today we have a very interesting topic. It's about the red pill community. What is it anyway? Is it toxic masculinity, or what could it possibly be? Oh, I really hope that you can hear me. Could you hear me before? Is this better? Okay, it's much better. Could you hear me before that,
Yeah.
Susan? Are you still
Yes,
good?
I
Okay,
could.
all right,
Yeah,
that's good.
but it's
Because
better
I'm
now.
I'm busy shouting and yelling and realizing, my goodness, this thing is nowhere near my face. Well, anyway, guys, let me introduce Susan and welcome you all to the show. We're still waiting for you guys. We want to see one or two more people join us before we actually start the show. So, Susan, introduce yourself. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Queen Mo. My name is Susan. I'm always happy to be here and just to chat about the current issues. And again, of course, we're still in the 16 days of activism. They'll culminate on the 10th of December. So we're still talking about subjects which we and looking to see whether there's a nexus between them and gender-based violence in any way. So, as Queen Mo has said, we're talking about the red pill movement and toxic masculinity. And let's see how this conversation goes. We're looking forward to you contributing and saying something, sharing, and let us build the knowledge together. This is we are just here to whet your appetite on the subject and really to encourage us to dig deeper into it and understand issues in a more meaningful way. After all, we are agents of change and we should see ourselves that way. And we are agents of saying no to gender based violence and no to sexual gender based violence. We're saying no. And we're talking about injury to gender based violence against genders, both genders, male and female. Yeah. So we're looking forward to your contributions and yeah.
Yes, Susan, I totally agree with you. We should all be agents of change, like you said. We should be proponents of change. And one of the ways to change things is to learn, to be knowledgeable, to investigate, to be curious, to find out about things like passport bros, red pill movement, misogyny. There are so many terms outside there, and what we need to be is just aware that these things are happening. It doesn't mean that just because you're Generation X, you don't know what's happening in the other generations, like Gen Z. Eh? We should know what's happening in that direction, and we should also know what's happening in the higher directions. So, what I'm saying is that we should be knowledgeable, we should be curious, investigate, because all these things end up, okay, affecting us in one way or another. So, before I continue, as usual, we usually have first of all, I would like to welcome those of you who I saw on there who are curious, maybe trying to set up and join us. I've seen two eyes, Karibu Sana. They're going in and out of the screen, but we are hoping that as you're watching, those of you who are going to watch us live, please remember to call your friends, let them watch us. Today is Friday. I know many of you have gone out or whatever, or maybe you're busy, you're tired. It's a Friday. But this is a good thing to watch. Let's watch and listen together. Let's chat. This is our way of going out these days. We go out online. And so we're interacting with you guys online. We're here. We're available. We're here for you. Join us in our StreamYard or go and join us on Facebook or YouTube, African Queen Mo Cardiff. Go onto StreamYard. You can come into the comment section, say something. You can even come into the studio. We're going to make this subject very, very interesting so that you guys do not waste your time here. So, the first thing, as we usually do, we do a little bit of a news roundup first, and I will start, and it will be just short. and then we'll introduce the subject, because I've got a lot of videos to share with you, a lot of images, so that all of us can learn. None of us are experts here. So let me start with a little bit of the news roundup, and then Susan will help me as we continue, because as you'll understand, guess what, guys? As I was preparing the news roundup, I had my whole bunch of newspapers like this yesterday, and I even had my highlighter pens. To prove it to you, here they are. I even got a whole bunch of highlighters. And I was sitting over there, very comfortable, happy, going like, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that. And then all of a sudden, I had just had lunch. We had all had lunch, okay? And I had, for the first time, decided I was going to try out our Kikuyu meal of beans and maize. Gideri, we call it gideri, because I'm not a big fan of it. But I thought, you know what? It's good for roughage. It's good for your tummy. It's, once you have hard boiled maize, it's good for your tummy. And before you know it, I saw somebody, and a guy from the electricity company, KPLC, Kenya Power. In fact, how weird, by the way. Coming to think of it, it looks all planned. A guy from Kenya Power came to read the meter, and he saw me sitting outside there under the umbrella. And he said, Hi, could you please come and open up the borehole meter for me? We want to read the meter. I said, Yeah, sure. So I came out running, went into the house. And as soon as I got into the house, all of a sudden I felt this welling up in my stomach. And all I managed to do was to give instructions to someone to take the key to a gentleman who's waiting outside from the Kenya Power Lighting Company. I ran to my room and in the toilet, and boom, you know, everything I had for lunch was out. And I went on to have this really spasmic experience. And it just came on so suddenly. I said, "My goodness, you mean you can come from the alive to the dead, almost dead, in within 5 minutes?" Not even 5 minutes, within a split second, your health can fail you in an instant when you least expected it. Because I didn't, under normal circumstances, have any other symptoms. I just felt okay. But as soon as I stood up and got to the door, that was it. And what's happened after that? Believe it or not, me and my mother and I had the same thing, and everybody else had refused to eat that stuff. And the next thing, my mom was like, "Oh, I'm not feeling too good." Within the next half hour, she was another one. So we were now competing. Okay, she was also having her problems, and I was having my problems. So we were having terrible problems, and we were all releasing everything. And you know why? Why this happened, guys? We were trying to trace back to what happened. One of the most deadly meals to eat is something that's high protein, and which has food poisoning. So actually, what we ended up having was food poisoning. Besides the point. And we traced it back to the same Kenya Power and Lighting guys who came there to read the meter, because we've been having these sporadic ups and downs of energy. I remember last time that we talked, I actually talked about the fact that Kenya Power and Lighting Company have told us to brace for one, higher cost of electricity, and two, sporadic electricity supply. We already started experiencing this last week. So for us, for me, this is actually a direct result of the fact that the food is not keeping the same temperature in the fridge. There are times when the electricity decides to go out completely. So, and since I have this habit of cooking food in bulk and storing it in the fridge, some of it in the fridge, some of it in the freezer, what happens is that when we have these erratic power supplies that affect the temperature of the food, then in that case, it can end up being toxic, okay, to our bodies. So we have to be very careful about how we store our food now, especially if you're one of those who is affected by these power supplies. So yeah, I'm glad to know. I mean, we had a really difficult time. My mom was not well last night. So unfortunately, short to say, I could not complete my work. I could not complete it because really, after dealing with myself, I was also dealing with my elderly mom. And so, yeah, so, Susan, that was my experience yesterday. That's my news roundup,
Oh,
personal news
Hola,
roundup.
Sana. Hola, Sana. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, indeed, we need to be careful. These power cuts are really affecting we have to throw away food and stuff like that because sometimes they're for long hours. And let's take precautions to make sure that we have alternative sources of power. And we hope that the power cuts are not going to be so severe that we'll have to change everything that we're doing so much. And I'm sure
Yeah.
some people will be looking to sell alternative means of obtaining electricity, like
Oh
inverters
yeah.
and solar power. Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah. Solar
which are
power.
expensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which are
Yeah, this
expensive.
is a money-making venture for many people. But on the other
Yeah,
hand, it's also like, who can you sue when your food goes bad?
yeah,
One of those people who cook in bulk, because that's another way of saving energy when you cook in bulk. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, yeah. Oh boy,
Yeah.
guys. So those of
Ole
you who,
sana, your
thank you
mom
very much.
too.
Asante sana. Pole means
Yeah,
sorry, and Asante sana means thank you in Swahili. Yeah, but thank you very
yeah.
much. Yeah, I'm feeling much better now,
So,
although slow to recover. Yeah. Be careful, guys. Be
Ole,
careful with your
yeah, it
food.
will take
Don't cook in
until,
bulk. Try and cook
yeah,
fresh food.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the lesson there. That's the cautionary tale. Don't cook in bulk for now.
Yeah. Hmm. Yes. So that was what I,
For
managed to do.
now,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I'll let you, Susan, do a little bit of a news roundup for what you managed to pick up, and I'll also try to identify, you know, here and there what I managed as well. So let me let you go.
Of course,
You
we've
mentioned you mentioned yeah,
seen a
okay, go
lot of
ahead.
high temperatures from the president. He's not particularly happy about some things that he's complaining that we are rejecting every single thing he's talked about and bringing any development issue he's trying to bring about. We rejected Shah. We rejected Adani. We've rejected the something to do with cows, and we've rejected oh yeah, the vaccination of cows, and the cows need to be injected for that we rejected the vaccination of cows, that we rejected everything, and saying that there's a bad spirit that is causing all this. And it's funny because the story of the bad spirit starts many weeks ago, and it started with the church, a member of the clergy talking about a bad spirit. And now the president has picked it up and said there's a bad spirit in this country that is making us reject all the development plans of the Kenya Kwanza government. And of course, there's a lot of reaction and pushback on it. The citizens, of course, are entitled to ask questions about things we have seen. There's issues of falling trust with the government. When I talk about government, I'm talking about the Kenya Kwanza government. And so there's that mistrust. So we have to interrogate every single thing. And Kenyans are very, very aware. We can get information very quickly. Even as people are talking, the young people are able to access information which is online, which is current, something that that person has said maybe 2 years ago on the same subject, and call you out on on misspeaking. you know we remember some episodes ago we talked about the post-truth era, and this is the time really we really need to interrogate and make sure that whatever information that is out there, which we're sharing and which we're hearing, is tested so that we know we're dealing with facts. So he's really furious with the Kenyans, and he spoke really badly, very harshly. And it's also about the tenders for the machines for um, the counties, the hospitals. Apparently, that they need to be replaced, and so there are some 7 institutions that have been given these tenders, and Kenyans want to know how these 7 institutions that are supposed to be supplying all these medical health equipment got the tenders. What was the process? Was it transparent? Were people given an opportunity to bid? And is who are these people who are bidding? And we found out that it's very important always to find out who exactly is bidding. We saw with the Adani that the Kenyans went out there and found out that Adani was not trustworthy. If he's being corrupt somewhere else, he's definitely being corrupt here too. And remember when we talked about the figures in terms of how much was to be paid for the building a transmission line, which was not even as long as the one to Ethiopia, we found in comparing the cost, the one to Ethiopia was 7 times cheaper than the one of Adani. So it begs the question of why was the Adani deal so expensive? Another thing that Kenyans are talking about, latest remarks even by a Supreme Court judge, Justice Lena Ola, he says he is concerned about the laxity of the executive in reconstituting the IEBC. And like we've talked about, and we've said in previous shows, that this is actually hampering um, the ability to have elections. There are so many by-elections that have not been held. We have 3 constituencies without representation and about 10 wards without representation in this country because the IBC cannot conduct any elections. So the president was pressurized in 2023 through Azimio protests to conduct elections Yeah, I think we lost me. Did you lose me? Hello? We can't hear you, Maureen. I can't hear you.
Oh,
Can you hear me
sorry.
now?
Oh, sorry. I had muted myself when you were. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, you had disappeared. All of a sudden, you froze, Susan. You froze. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Continue. You said something about
Sorry.
Bungoma. Mm-hmm.
Not Bungoma. I was saying that there
Was
was.
it Adani?
I was talking about the IEBC, and there was
IEBC.
pressure
Yes. 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 Mm-hmm.
by
Yeah.
yes, and there was pressure by the Azimio protests in
Oh,
2023
Azimio.
and the
Mm-hmm.
constitution of the
Mm-hmm.
IEBC. And
Mm-hmm.
the president eventually established a panel to do the selection process, but this panel is controversial because of the political interests and the tensions. Actually, as a result of that, there's some cases in the High Court where they're challenging the membership of the panel, with various
Mm-hmm.
groups saying we are not represented in that panel.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a an act of parliament that's supposed to be now governing how this selection should take place,
Mm-hmm.
and still the tensions continue. Nothing is happening. And what is really interesting is there's stark interest between the ruling of the High Court when it was Gashagwa's impeachment trial, and when they talked about not wanting an office to be vacant. And some of these positions have been vacant for up to 619 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's over, like over almost 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
without a member of parliament, without representation. The question, of course, is what is more important? What is more important? There are members of this nation who are not represented in parliament, and there are quite a few, like I said. So the judge who was looking at this case said, um, this was in January 2024. She said there should be compliance with the Constitution, and because the Constitution should not be delayed by or for political expediency. And we can see it has been weaponized to some extent for whatever reason. Of course, it also means that if the by elections are not taking place, then the money is not being allocated.
Mm-hmm.
So the other big discussion right now is the health woes. We know that around the 23rd of December, we're expecting the doctors to go on a 21-day strike. There are
Oh
big
yeah.
concerns, particularly with the interns. They are really concerned about their working conditions. They're saying they're overworked. They do 36-hour shifts and some up to 72 hours. The reason
Yes.
being they are very understaffed, so they have to do this work, and it is so much work that they have to do. Not only checking the patients, watching over them, but also the paperwork that is required, and the handover procedure.
Mm-hmm.
So their issues are, their concerns regard to payment of arrears of the doctors, payment of arrears to interns. Also, they are fighting their concerns about the discriminatory and bullying practices in the workplace. It's a toxic workplace. they do the most dangerous of the jobs, they do most of the work, and yet they are being paid peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
Payment of postgraduate fees and specialists. Since 2019, the government stopped paying it, but before that, they were paying it because the idea of the government was to have doctors who are specializing in various fields,
Mm-hmm.
obstetrics and other things,
Mm-hmm.
obs and gyn and surgery and other things. There are about four areas where
Mm-hmm.
they're given an opportunity to do masters and qualify. So the problem with them, the government not paying these postgraduate fees, is that they are locked out of doing the exams. So they're not able to
Mm-hmm.
do the exams because they've not paid. Um, Only 100 million of 200 million in the that is due in fees has been paid. The question is who benefits from that payment, because you just pay and the several doctors, which doctors will benefit from that. The other thing, of course, is that there was an agreement that they should be paid if they work for more than 40 hours. We've just said that they work up to 36-hour shifts, but they can go up to 72 hours. So they're supposed to be 40 hours payment. That has not happened. So overtime or working beyond the agreed upon time is not being paid either. And also, doctors at risk of being injured, and their insurance covers, they're not getting medical insurance, and so they cannot even go to hospital. We've had some tragedies where the doctors, although they are doctors, cannot be treated because they don't have medical insurance, which is terrible.
My
Regarding the
gosh,
yeah,
that's
regarding,
amazing.
yeah,
Hmm. A
terrible.
doctor cannot be treated in a hospital because they don't have medical insurance. That's
Yes,
really
and they also
tragic.
don't have risk insurance because, like I said earlier, they're
Oh yeah,
exposed to great risks. They're handling
yes,
contaminated needles. They're coming near the patients who are
yeah.
maybe have infectious conditions and all that.
They're usually
Um,
working in emergency. So even today, I listened to, if I might just say, I listened to a video of a Kenyan doctor. He was in his car and he was talking about the fact that they do such long shifts. They say that once you
yeah,
go in, like on a Monday
yeah,
afternoon or Monday morning, you'll be out the next day in the night. He
yeah.
said the shifts are not only grueling, but he was saying that he had just come from treating somebody who had been slashed, with a machete on their face.
Mm,
And he was asking,
mm,
why would anybody want to slash somebody on their face with a
mm,
machete, with a panga? And so, in other words, they're also being exposed to a lot of emotionally traumatizing situations, and they're not
yeah,
getting treatment for it. And so he
yeah,
said also that there were 7 doctors who have attempted suicide
yeah,
in
yeah.
Kenya. Did you hear about that?
Attempted,
2 of them have
attempted.
succeeded.
Yes, yeah, and those are interns mostly. But we have, from I was listening to a program, and there was a medical student there, and she says you're not counting the medical students. The students have also tried to commit suicide, and the frustration of
It's too
these young
much.
people is that we
Yeah.
go to school for 7 years and or
Yeah.
9 years and counting at
Mm-hmm.
great cost. There's a
Mm-hmm.
really expensive course, and we
Yeah.
come out and we cannot. One, they're saying they're not employing. They're not employing the doctors. That's one of the problems we have. And then when they get these interns, they are paying them a reduced amount of money, and they're saying there's no pay
Yes.
slip. We don't even know what this money is for. Usually you get the pay slip, so you don't know what has been deducted. You're just find you have this money. And
Yeah.
they were originally being paid between 206,000 to 180,000, which has dropped to 70,000.
Yeah.
And now, after tax, is coming to about 41,000. And these are
Wow.
doctors who are
Wow.
doing, yeah,
Yeah, I
they're
saw
doing,
that some doctors cannot pay their rent. They
yeah,
can't buy food. They're going hungry. Actually, they're
yes,
going hungry. Can you imagine doctors going hungry? Doctors.
yes,
This is really ridiculous when politicians who don't even have a proper degree, most of them are fake anyway, there they are earning millions. They are the most highly paid people in the world. Our politicians are the highest paid in the world. Yeah. But then the doctors can't
Very
get a
unfortunate.
basic meal. This is actually just ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You know, there should be, in
Yeah.
fact, by the way, there should be an organization that is working with the doctors to take them out of the country, to take them out, to go and they're the ones who should be traveling to go and work in other countries. But also in other countries, they are also exploited. I also follow this lady called Diana
In
Ekweme.
fact, they're saying that.
Mm. There's this lady who's called Diana. Sorry for interrupting, but I just thought, it's kind of relevant. You think that if a doctor got a job outside of the
No, it's
country,
fine.
let's say in the Middle
Yeah, it's
East,
fine.
there's a lady called Diana Ekweme whose
Mm-hmm.
husband is a doctor, and if you watch her on YouTube, he works in Saudi Arabia. So he had to move out of Nigeria to Saudi Arabia to go and
Yeah.
work as a doctor, but that was because of the conditions, the pay scale that was too low in Nigeria. So, but
Yeah.
even when working in Saudi Arabia, what he's earning is not enough because they're working very long shifts. So I think they're still looking to move again, maybe to the US or another country. She herself had to move back to Nigeria. And she said the reason why was because of the difficulties that she was experiencing with her children. Her children could not integrate. They were taking long to speak. She had very children under the age of 5, and they took long to speak. One of them was, had some difficulties, and she thought maybe let's try maybe let me go back to Nigeria. So she actually moved back to Nigeria, left her husband. So now she's in a long distance marriage. And she's talking about how difficult it is to be in a long distance marriage. It doesn't, and meanwhile, this is not to say that a country with 200 million people like Nigeria, and with 2 million of them, 20 million of them in Lagos, that they have adequate numbers of doctors. They don't. But then the doctors can't get work. They can't find work and whatever. But anyway, don't want to belabor the point because we need to get back into the red pill movement. But anyway, the idea is that it's unfair. And what the doctor was saying is the way to support them is to make noise about it. Don't be quiet
Yeah.
about it. Support them,
Mm.
complain, write letters, go onto social media and
Yeah.
make your voice heard about these
That's
doctors.
true.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, the plight
I,
of the interns and doctors, all doctors. And by the way, this also applies to other professionals, such as professors in universities as well.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And what is really, I think people are struggling with is the show of opulence when it comes to donations to the church, and yet we know that our medical health officers, the practitioners, it's actually the profession is at great risk in this nation. Just listening to those young people, because I was listening to an interview and they were saying, well, we may not even practice. I'm reconsidering whether or not I'm going to practice as a doctor. The other one said, well, we don't even know, there's no hope. If we're going to do this many years of work and then we get this type of pay and we work for such long hours, we really don't know whether it's attractive at all. The other thing that was raised was that if the government does not hold, this is the Kenya Kwanza government, doesn't hold the health professionals in the right level of esteem, it's a reflection on how low they actually regard the citizens. They don't care about our health care. They don't care that the doctors are actually going to go on strike, a 21-day strike. And this is the second this year, you know. And if they're not willing to address these issues and with seriousness, then, we're going to end up with a country where our skilled professionals in the medical health area will all have fled and gone to countries where they're appreciated more, and we'll and of course that has direct implications on the quality of healthcare we will get. So there's some of them are really saying they're not even going to practice as doctors. There's that threat there. I'm feeling that really, as Kenyans, we should be offended that the Kenya Kwanza government does not regard us high enough, that our right to life, our right to quality healthcare is not regarded highly. The other thing was the universal healthcare. They were asked, what do you think about this? Do you think this is achievable? The first thing they said is, first of all, our doctor to patient ratio is off. Right now, it is 1 in 17,000. And it's supposed to be like 1 in 1,000, according to the WHO standards. So you're saying, look, if we can't even get that ratio right, how are we going to achieve universal health care? Not to mention that our systems are underfunded. We know that they're calling it Taifa Care is grossly underfunded, and it's not is so the to him the universal health care rollout is just a pipe dream. It's a strategy for stealing to take place, for impunity to be carried out, for institutionalized corruption to be undertaken. There's still many questions about who is actually rolling out the integrated healthcare management system, their connections with members of the economic council that the president listens to, and shell company after shell company, just something that will raise questions about really the integrity of the
Yeah.
whole. So there you
Briefcase,
have it.
briefcase,
That's my
briefcase organizations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there you have it. That's the roundup for today. And let's
Yeah,
just hope that our
let me add something there, Susan, that's a bit related. That when you talked about Shiv Shah and the situation there. Do you know the government suspended the court suspended the government's immunity and privileges for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? They said that that was in on when on that was reported on 25th of November on on kenyans.co.ke. The High Court issued conservatory orders suspending immunity and privileges granted to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation under the Privileges and Immunities Act in a petition filed by the Law Society of Kenya. So this was by the Law Society of Kenya. So basically, the privileges basically allowed the foundation to engage in contracts, legal actions, and property transactions within the country, as well as get legal immunity. So, the justice, his name is Bahati Mwamuye, in his ruling, he prohibited the foundation and its directors, officers, staff, and agents acting under its authority from enjoying or continuing to enjoy any privileges and immunities under the Privileges and Immunities Act. So it's good to know that happened. But in the meantime, there's some Kenyans who sued Kenya was sued at the East African Court over the Bill Gates Foundation immunities. And the country is facing legal action at the East African Court of Justice in Tanzania over immunities that were granted to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So these are people who are not satisfied. This is, reported on December 4th, but I believe it was actually filed on November 28th, which is after the court suspended the immunities. So the case was filed on November 28th and has been brought by Kenyan petitioners Sigi Waigumo and Gishohi Wawero, who accused Kenya of violating the East African Community Treaty and the Kenyan Constitution. Okay. And they were arguing that the government has failed to ensure transparency, public participation, and accountability in granting immunities. Okay. So basically, the reason why this has happened is because the government has said that it's going to be vaccinating, it's going to be pushing a bill. It's actually going to be start vaccinating millions and millions of domesticated animals, basically cows, goats, sheep, in January. And the president himself said that he's going to, I think, vaccinate like 20 million of them. And the reason they're being vaccinated is so that they can reduce greenhouse emissions through reduced, uh, basically reducing their gases, their ability to produce gas.
flatulence.
Flatulence,
Flatulence.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yes. But one thing that they don't realize is that there are feeds right now. There's something that is being added into the feeds to even reduce it. So either they could vaccinate these animals or they can actually put that stuff inside the feeds of the animals. And the question that they're being asked is this: they're being asked is this is all experimental, and this is going to affect the quality of our food, the quality of our the quality. We're not sure what the impact is going to be. We might have a very huge impact in terms of our food security in this country if that was to happen. So this is the reason why, the question he was being asked is, why are they seeking this immunity in the first place? Yeah, why are they seeking it? I think after the COVID, situation, I think people's trust levels are very low, and so the foundation, I don't know where that's going from here. Yeah, but
Yeah, I
another
think there
thing.
are two
Okay.
cases. There are two
Hmm.
cases.
Hmm.
Just to
Yeah,
explain,
yeah.
those are
No,
two
please
different
explain.
cases. Yeah, there are
Yeah,
two
yeah,
different cases.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
One is
yeah,
EAC, and one is Kenya. Yeah.
yeah,
One is the
uh,
Law Society of Kenya, which is
yeah,
here in Kenya, and the other one is two individuals suing the country.
yeah,
Yeah. So, yes, those are two different cases, definitely. Another thing we also realize is that, based on the Adani case, the Indian businessman who was found to be corrupt and no longer, when the government now said they were not going to be selling the airport to him, now, Kenya has decided that it wants to borrow 500 billion shillings from the on a diaspora loan to upgrade the airport. So, according to the government, people who are living in the diaspora are the ones who are going to they're the ones who are going to upgrade our airport. So they're talking about seeking to tap a diaspora bond. So this was actually stated by Mr. Mudavadi, who said that Kenya is now ready for a diaspora bond that would raise 500 billion shillings, and the funding a full overhaul of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport at approximately 300 billion shillings, and reserving 200 billion shillings for other major infrastructure projects. That's what Mr. Mudavadi said. Okay, so they're looking to harness the power of the diaspora, the diaspora, through a dedicated bond, which they say is going to be a game changer that could fund monumental projects and transformative infrastructural initiatives. Yes. So even if the Adani contract is being cancelled, and by the way, I believe the Law Society of Kenya have asked to see proof that that contract has actually been cancelled. Yeah. So despite that, the fact is that they're trying to find a roundabout way, to still fund the same project of expanding the JKIA. Yeah, I think that's a very lucrative project for those people who are going to be involved in. So, yeah, this is what they're going to do. The diaspora, they believe they're going to take the diaspora to fund that. So, anyway, I think that should at least round up maybe our news so that we can move into the topic. Susan, what do you
yeah.
think?
Just to
Yeah.
clarify, the
Yeah,
High Court,
please clarify.
there is a High Court case that stopped the government from interacting or engaging in any way with Adani or any of
Mm-hmm.
its partner companies, and and so as proof, they are demanding in that case the proof that the government has surely cancelled the contracts with Adani on, completely. So this case is actually being spearheaded by Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa, who are advocates. Kalonzo Musyoka is a senior counsel, and who have moved the court. So they moved the court because you need proof that actually something is at end. As the political analysts say, that they don't think it's at end, they think it will come in through another name. The same
Mm-hmm.
thing we're saying about the Finance Act of 2024. There's suspicion that some of they brought in 49 clauses that were in that the bill that were rejected by the Gen Z movement and even Kenyans at large, but they've tried to modify them a little bit. But you see, there's still determination to push agendas. What I'm happy about, though, is there has been a public participation, and let's hope that the legislature have learned their lesson well, that they must engage the public. Public participation needs to be there. It is a national value. It's a national value, and we need to participate. Some of us know more about the subjects than others. We are more aware. And Kenyans, bravo. You do your homework, you fact check, you look into it. And it's interesting that it was you, Kenyans, who knew about Adani and started talking about it. And we are very sure that even when the government president decided to cancel the deals while he was giving his State of the Nation address, that the pressure was coming from the US, but really that was not necessary. He needed to listen to what the Kenyans were saying. And what's so contradictory was that he said in his message that he was a listening president, but we know for sure that is not the case. And there we have it, a roundup for today.
I'm muted.
You're
Yeah.
muted.
So in relation, yes, in relation to, by the way, let me just finally say something because I also discovered something quite interesting. Um, do you know that just how many days ago was this? Literally, today is the 6th. On the 3rd, 3 days ago, two people died and 50 were hospitalized after suspected food poisoning at a church function. Two people died and 50 others hospitalized. This place is in Vihiga County. And they said that they have 56 people admitted in the hospital with symptoms like vomiting and diarrhea, but they are currently in stable condition. And they said that some of the members, what they did is that, according to the pastor, the chairman of the joint churches, the incident happened after the worshippers ate a meal prepared by a congregant who is currently detained by police. But they said that they served a meal of rice and beans. Some of that meal was even taken home to be shared with families. So many people were admitted for consuming poison of food. We have to be very careful, guys. Rice and beans has been known to unalive people. And I told you I ate maize and beans. So you guys be careful, eh? Be careful with the food that you eat. Don't eat leftover foods because really this was like it was bad. It was bad. Yeah, it was really bad for me, my experience. So please, you guys, yeah, these people who lost their lives, we pray for their families. But all at the same time, when you go to church functions, when you go to functions, limit your appetite. That's what I can say because this has happened quite a bit. Limit your appetite when you go out to functions, really. It doesn't matter whether it's a wedding or whatever it is, be careful. Know how that food, why are you laughing, Susan? Limit your appetite. Actually, yeah. Some people like they decide they're going to starve the day before to make sure that when they go to this function, that's where they're going to load up their plate with food. But you don't know what you're eating and how it was prepared. Yeah. So many times, oh, you have to be very careful when it comes to food, and definitely do not eat food that is at room temperature. Find a way to nuke it in a microwave or whatever you're going to do with it, or just avoid it altogether. Yeah, that's just my little advice. But for me, this one of mine happened at my own house, so you also have to be careful when it comes to the power rationing thing. Yeah.
You're muted. Yeah,
I
that
said,
was
Susan, you're busy laughing at me.
yeah,
Why?
that was funny. Telling people to to manage their eating at.
Yeah. We were told by this guy before he was jailed in America. What was his name? Eh? That when you eat a plate of food, you should have a space left for some water. Eh? Leave some space for water. That
Dida,
water.
Dida.
Dida.
That's so funny. Oh, that's so funny.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. I can see you guys out there. Thank you so much for joining us. Come into the discussion or listen to us or whatever. Invite people to watch. We are now starting the real subject of today, which is about the red pill movement and toxic masculinity. Yay! Let's clap. We're finally here. We actually thought we had nothing to say with the news roundup, but unfortunately, it's taken quite a bit of our time. We'll try not to keep you on here too long. I know you're all tired. But today, we're going to be talking about the red pill movement. I came to find out about this red pill movement because I heard words being thrown around like dusty dudes, I'm sure young people know what that means, dusty men, toxic masculinity, hyper what? Hyper masculinity. There's so many words that are being used, emasculation of men. These are women, and I follow them a lot on YouTube. So I was like, what the heck is this red pill movement? And the red pill movement, there was also another one that was being discussed with Will Smith's wife, where she had this red table where it's a red table discussions where she would literally open up to the to be frankly about experiences that women are having in relationships specifically. And, that's when we saw the dirty stuff, all that stuff coming out, with Will being told off by his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. And we saw that really raw session on the red table. If you guys have been watching that, if you don't know anything about that, I suggest that you go to YouTube and watch because there's a lot of stuff on there. And it's actually sad because I do remember Will Smith actually crying when he was being told by his wife on the red table. And it's public. It wasn't very easy. You could just see him tearing up. And it's been a difficult thing. I don't really know what is really going on, especially between African American men and women, or should I say Black American. They don't like to, sometimes we don't know whether to use African American or Black American. I'm going to use Black American. Black American men and and Black American women, there is an issue going on there in the society, and that issue is now being transported out by the passport bros, to countries like Kenya, and we are actually now in the mix, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So what is the red pill movement? Susan, would you like to tell us what it is, because you're good at definitions? Or
Okay, well,
am I throwing you off? Or would you like
well,
me to play a video about it?
I did some homework, and I checked to
Great,
see what the
fabulous.
red pill movement is, and it's actually
Mhm.
quite a complex thing to understand. But the what I saw was when somebody refers to somebody having taken the red pill as a male, is the awakening to the fact that women are vain and vacuous and select their partners solely on genetically determined physical attributes. It is believing concepts like male oppression and female hypergamy, and that is that
Hypergamy, yes.
women marry up, they marry
Mhm.
up, right? And
Mhm.
then it's a metaphor used in some men's rights groups, the manosphere and anti-feminist communities, to describe the moment when someone realizes that certain gender roles they are expected to conform to, e.g., monogamy and marriage, are only intended to benefit women. And it talks about a documentary that was released in 2016 titled The Red Pill, and it's a man's rights movement. And yeah, it seems to be, something like that. And it says it's a set of knowledge and know
Mhm.
how that
Mhm.
facilitates the construction of a worldview that pertains to men's place in society
Mhm.
and to intersexual dynamics,
Mhm.
likened to a Damascus moment, uh, um, and like a revelation, or so it's like a spiritual experience. I heard this particular video. The psychologist was saying that the red pill movement is not the opposite of feminism.
Mhm.
Um, it's not the opposite of feminism, but rather
Mhm.
it is a movement by men. It's a men's rights movement. That's what I can see in conclusion, because um, to and also they seem to feel that they're not accepting any responsibility at all,
Mhm.
from what I can see, for women perhaps choosing not to have relationships with them in particular. They're not accepting any responsibility at all for their behavior, that women may find intimidating, or that toxic
Mhm.
masculinity. And
Mhm.
like we discussed in the passport bros, I mean, just watching those videos and their attitudes and their behavior, we could see that it's a situation where they seem to be operating in some alternate universe, in terms of they're not quite in touch with the reality. When Kenyan women were being described as nice and gentle and all that, and we
Mhm.
know women are women. We are the same wherever you are. We are. You don't like something, we'll say something about it, and you speak. About it.
Mhm.
So there's some belittling conduct and behavior and wrong attitudes towards members of the opposite gender, which were not which were difficult to accept in terms of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they're not right behaviors. And like I said in the other video, I believe that these men could be suffering from some mental health issues, because they're not able to have a healthy relationship with women, and they are blaming women. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, my daughter was telling me, I don't know whether she's on, but she was telling me that sometimes these people think maybe they're not being chosen because they're not good looking. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality is, maybe, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I mean,
Yeah.
the two of us may find two different men good looking, you know, and all of
Yeah.
us who are watching, if we put some men up, in a line, some of us would say this or some would say that. And I was
Absolutely.
watching.
We're all so unique and so different. But let me play a little bit of a few
Yeah,
videos here for people so that they can. Thank you,
yeah,
Susan. That's a really good
yeah.
try. Okay, let's listen to what some people are saying the red pill movement is. Hmm? Oops, why is this saying that my whatever browser does not support it? That's not fair. That's not fair. Just
Are
the
there
my
any
favorite
comments?
videos, the ones that I want to play.
Are there any
Okay,
comments on the section, on the comment section? I'm not able to see.
Up
Maybe
just a
somebody's
so
gonna
second.
comment
badly
on
Oh,
it.
oh.
for long-term relationships. It tells men you have to have a high body count. Cool. They go out and have a high body count, but you have to be with a virgin. Okay. But when they go out into the real world, after they've had a high body count, they are not sexually compatible with a virgin. They are so easily bored by a virgin. They don't know how to work a virgin. They don't have the patience to teach a virgin how to behave in a way that they are pleased with. So they always end up, maybe they'll marry a good woman. They'll go straight to the escorts when they want their pleasure, because they cannot be emotionally and sexually compatible with a virgin, because a true virgin who's good, who's genuinely good, wouldn't select a man that's been sleeping around. So he probably has to fake it to get that good woman. And then while he's being fake, he needs a very promiscuous woman to serve his genuine needs. So he ends up either being married to a good woman and then using escorts on the side. So escorts are still getting the better end of the deal because they see the real you, whereas your wife sees the fake you. Or they end up, I can't be with a virgin. I'm no longer compatible. So they end up with just.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's one definition, because one of the requirements, what the red pill says basically is that you have to be hyper masculine. One of the things you should what they also what they promote that a man should actually have intimate relationships with at least 50 women. That is one sign of masculinity. Okay, you have to not be faithful. You must not be faithful to one partner. That is one of the red pill requirements. To be in part of this community, you have to be an unfaithful partner, and you should have bagged at least 50 males. Sorry, 50 females. At the same time, you should be earning an income of at least $10,000 or above. Okay, you have to have $10,000 or above. You should, have potentially, you should already have your own home. You should have probably purchased a home. And so they have very, very many demands and requirements for a man who is in this situation. So let me see if I can play other videos. Unfortunately, some of the ones that, yeah. And then
So
these,
if I can just comment on that
oh,
video
yeah,
there.
sure, Susan. Yeah.
I think it just shows that these are people who are willing to make wrong choices because they're living in a world where they don't really care about the rest of humanity, or the other 50% of humanity. And everything is about them. So they're making wrong choices from the get-go, because
Yeah.
even what they're premising, you know, their relationships on is completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that is concerning. Actually, that's why they're saying that monogamy and marriage suits women, because obviously it looks like, you know, they would prefer a different sort of relationship, which is polygamy, and probably not being married, at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, so, and even these standards of money and, ownership of a home. uh, One of the things that we picked up from the last videos was that the passport bros, for instance, they said that the women in the US were very expensive to be with. to have a relationship with, or their demands were too high economically. And yet, when they come to countries like Kenya, they flash that money around. So there's this
Yeah.
paradox
There's
in, not a clear.
contradictory, very
Yeah,
contradictory. Yeah.
yeah.
True, Susan.
And
Let
which
me play a
makes
few
me.
more.
Mhm.
Yeah, let me play a few more and then we can comment. Yeah, just one sec. Let me see if I'm hoping that they'll come on.
Convicted criminal men these days, making videos advising and critiquing women on how to get a high value man.
Yep. You see, when you hear the word dusty, these are women who do not respect these quote unquote high value men. Okay, I see that some people want to join, but let me just also continue to show you a few more videos in here. Okay, present. You guys will give me a little bit of a break because I'm not that I'm just new to this.
To this.
Can push your wife to a breaking point and come back to point fingers at her because of your mischievous deed. And therefore, she cannot survive because you are emotionally abusing and emotionally suffocating her till to the point where she breaks down and she does not know what to do anymore. And when she does not know what to do anymore, you start to see abrupts of certain behaviors that you initiated into that person, because nobody can tolerate abuse. Therefore, I implore all men and I advise all men, refrain from emotional abuse. Women cannot handle it. They break like nobody's business. Rather, become a wise man and use the counsel of God to fix things between you and your wife. Sometimes silence is an answer where you don't know how to respond when your wife is leading you to a place where you don't know how you can resolve the matter.
So we have different views, and I think we have one more person who's coming in. We should probably want to add them to the stage. Yes, welcome. Who are we talking to here?
Hey, how you doing? You hear me?
Yes, we could hear you very well. Hello.
Okay. Well, thank you for first of all having me on. I just seen you guys on my feed, so I was like, you know what?
Welcome.
I said thank you. I have a podcast as well. I definitely won't be shouting it out. I definitely plan on cutting it soon because I'm actually deciding to push it away because I'm not. I'm actually deciding to cut it off. So, but no, I wanted to come on because I saw the topic and I can speak on this because I know. And the first thing I want to ask you guys: Are you both ladies Christians or no?
Yes, we're
Um,
Christians.
one of us here
I'm
is
a
a very
Christian.
strong Christian. The other one is not.
And is the host you? I'm guessing you're the Christian, or
Yes, 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 yes. For me, I wouldn't define myself specifically as any religious of any sort.
they're just so atheists.
No, no, no. I'm not atheist. No, I'm not atheist. Certainly not.
So you're spiritual.
Yes.
Okay. And what part of are you guys in Africa or
We are in
Europe?
Africa. We are in Kenya, in Nairobi. And where are you calling from?
Okay. Kenya.
Mm,
I'm glad you say Kenya. I just had a conversation with
we're in
someone.
Kenya. Yes, we're in
Uh,
Kenya. Yes.
I got some stories. So
Wonderful.
I'm in Texas. Okay, in
You're in
America.
Texas.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So I wanted to share because the toxic thing about red pill, which I'll share, is this. I used to be formerly in the marriage space. I'm young. I'm in my early 30s, but
Uh, okay. One thing, could you try to maybe be a little bit louder? Maybe
oh
put the microphone closer.
yeah, let me put on my headphones. Give me one
Yeah, you
second.
need your headphones. Yeah. So
Yeah.
welcome to the space. Very welcome. Your name is Neo Moses, is it?
Yes, you
Neo
call me
Moses.
Neo.
Yeah.
You call me Neo for short.
Neo. Okay. Welcome, Neo.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. You hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sound better? Does it sound better?
Yes, it's
Hello?
better. Much better. Yeah, it's getting
Okay.
better.
We can hear you.
Good. Good. Okay. So, what I want to point out, because I think dealing with that space of red pill, which I'm a former member in that space, because I'll tell you right now, I think there is some things we can learn from it as I think for men and women. I kind of had a place in there in the past between 2018 and 2019 when I first learned about it. Because for me, dealing with the red pill was a place where I wanted to, because I had to have understanding about what I was going through. I think everybody who was going through, well, let's say, a divorce of the irreconcilable differences, which is the usually common thing that's happening in the marriage. Because if you see usually when marriage is ending that way, we always see that one side. Usually more women leave than men. Now, if we look at that, society is given that advantage in America. That's the problem. Now, the problem is it's not seen as a union because when people tend to get married for that purpose is to create new families, right? And so, what my situation was, the person just wanted to go somewhere else. And now, mind you, it wasn't like no abuse or anything in that sort of matter. I'm saying this because usually you would think that it's the man's fault here in America, but this was not the case. The case what I was seeing was a lot of comparisons to other men. And I think with those situations we see with men, we don't tend to understand why are they continuing to look at other men. And now the other men they're comparing us to are men that don't even have that position. Because see, the thing is, most guys I've talked to who are formerly married or still single and never married, they tend to share that same understanding that we put so much in, but we lose so much. But the problem is, we're not giving that same value, even though we are giving the value as the providers, which is Bible, Bible point of view is being providers and protectors and leaders of the home, which the Bible says. But the thing about red pill, what I've studied, um, now was I trying to find it when I first got out of my marriage when it was a divorce because I had to file because she couldn't file, she couldn't afford it. She told me. But the thing is, the problem was when I got in the red pill was a lot of men were coping. I think the toxicity that we're talking about is the men who kind of gave up, unfortunately, because there's a lot of problems in the space where the men are trying to find this person that they don't really find because here in America, it's a first world problem where we have more women divorcing more than men. That's not really the men that's doing more divorcing. And I think it came from a place of trying to fit in a space where you cannot be that guy unless you have all these accolades. Now that's an issue. We all cannot be millionaires. But the thing in our culture here, I'm saying we have a lot of problems with this because we're showing a false reality most times. And for many years, seeing that from 25 to my early 30s, it showed me that red pill was good and bad. But the good that I got out of it was to understand how female nature is. Now, I think you should look into a person, if you never heard of him, Jordan Peterson from Canada. You ever heard of him, Jordan Peterson?
Yes, Jordan Peterson
Yes,
is somebody
yes,
that I
we
listen
have.
to a lot. Yeah, we listen
Yeah,
to him a
we
lot. We are
listen to
quite
Good,
aware. Hmm.
good. He mentions the men who are joining it because of that reason. But the thing is, they have a lack of guidance, whereas your fathers and your brothers tend to lead you into a better path. There's a lot of young men who are in that space because they don't have a good male figure. Now, it doesn't matter what background. A lot of guys I've talked to from Canada to Europe to Asia, they're all joining these spaces because they don't have a voice. Their voice is like being shut down due to society and certain things, especially in America, because in America it's a problem because the Americans here have a lot of control, more so for the government involving women who are more voicing their thoughts. They can get more of a leeway, which is not saying men can't say nothing. It's just that our views here are kind of undiminished because see the men here, we're not that power. We're not as bigger than our government. We're not that big as our government to say, but the government here is more so for women than men, which is saying that because it's shifted in times. It went from a patriarchy to a matriarchy, which is not something that is ideal for him. Because history shows us from the times in the past they tried that, it destroyed many countries, which is civilizations, which is saying the women leave the country, it's destroyed. Now, if we were to have that again, God knows only what He can see where we're going next. It's
Hmm.
not going to be for better times, and that's history trying to repeat itself in the same way, but it should not repeat itself. Now we don't want that. Now if that happens, God forbid, we're dealing with a situation where a lot of people are going to start fighting gender wars all over again, which is already happening. But in America,
Hmm.
it's kind of it's dying down a little bit because the election stuff. But I'll say this last thing, and I'll let you guys get your words in. Um,
Hmm.
a problem we're seeing today with the whole toxic thing about red pill. More importantly, we have to understand the perspectives from it that understand what it means. I don't think they're all evil. I just think there are a lot of misunderstandings that have not been talked about correctly. Let's say a man, 'cause I know I talked to a guy recently from Kenya who came to Texas, right? He told me him and his wife, because he was my driver, he had told me him and his wife came to Texas from Kenya. 5 years
Hmm.
later, she divorced him. Now, I asked him, was it was it your fault or her fault? He told me pretty much the reason why they divorced because his wife was around the American black woman. Now, the problem what he was not knowing is when you came to America, you don't know the influence that the culture will do to her. Now, I heard these stories many times from other guys who don't bring their wife back to America. The
Hmm.
culture here is so damaging to the women. They're gonna confuse you to tell you you're becoming this if you come here, and they'll make them believe this lie. You're gonna be this type of woman coming here, and you're gonna know what's gonna happen. They turn to feminism. That's what causing them to now turn from their spouse and their family. Because you gotta remember, this country is more individualistic. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It is not
Hmm.
more family bound. The thing is happening here is creating a mindset to look past family. You're more focused on being individuals more than minded family. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
not considering family. You're considering being your own independent person, which is not ideal. It's a problem. Why many men are not marrying. Even men are leaving. I've talked to a lot of guys who left, even to South America, Asia, Africa, Europe, to go find a wife. I just did a podcast with a guy who's Congolese. He was born in Congo, got raised in Ireland, met his wife, 23, British white girl. And now, why I say this? Because he didn't look for that. He said he was just minding his business, going to church, serving God, going into software development. This girl came along, met her. She was a Christian too. They got together. I mean, their story is pretty great. I think it was a good interview to see how they both forward together. Because the thing about people are so afraid of racial differences, and that didn't stop them. That did not stop them getting married. Then they got one child, one biracial child. And mind you, he's 30, she's 23. So I don't think it's I don't think it's just based on culture. It's more so the environment was teaching. Because Red Pill didn't just come out of nowhere. What is the circumstances? Why is it existing? Why did it have to come? Look at the societies that's pushing divorce and more stuff like separation of family. The women are more pro-feminist that are telling men, we don't need you. We kind of want to do our own thing. It's like, well, why would you want to marry that as a man? And why do you want to be an independent woman without a family? You see? And that's like the benefits of a first world society. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much, Neo. That's a really enlightening and revealing and very hot, rendering story that you're telling us there, very straight up. I'd be interested to know, why did you leave the Red Pill movement?
Well, it wasn't that I left. It's just I wasn't the kind of guy who was into like focusing on, I already knew the story how women were because I started learning from them how was the movement and how were female nature. Because the real reason why it exists because men want to learn female nature. They didn't know how women's natures are. So it caused this movement to get further because men wanted to learn, hey, how are women acting? Because they want to understand their nature and they were never taught that. Even my father, being born in Liberia, he never taught me that. So I was never aware of this until I really started doing my research and I was wondering why did my ex-spouse act the way she did? And so I got revelation
Yeah.
through the organization. Even though it wasn't like organized by one leader, it was just an
Mhm.
internet place to find out who's who.
Yeah.
So
Nia, one of the differences between people who are raised in places like Africa and in the US, by the
yeah,
way, I was in the US for more than almost 10 years. I went to school there. I did my
Okay.
undergraduate and graduate degrees in Minnesota. Okay.
Oh,
So
that's where I was
I
born.
have a
Yeah.
background in the US somehow. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
kind of understand the environment. But my question to you would be, how would you say that you are not as, what is it that you lacked in terms of understanding female nature? That you felt that the best way to get that information
Well,
would be from the red pill? Because, for example, there are other people who, like John Gray. You know John Gray? Men are from
no.
Mars, women are from Venus, that kind of book.
Oh,
The guy
yeah.
who
I know the
wrote that
book.
book. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know him, but I know the book.
those
Yeah.
kinds of self-help books are still available. Why is it that you would want to go to a very extremist organization that promotes friend zoning women? Yeah, friend zoning women, pretending not to be wanting to have close relationships with women. Like if you go to university or in college, they promote that you just friend zone women just to get to know how they operate and don't get sexual with women when you are very young, not very young, when you're just like maybe in your 20s, 30s, when most people actually become sexually active with the sole purpose of getting to know the woman. Did you not find that a little bit hypocritical of that movement?
I think the reason why it even existing because you gotta think about it. A lot of the movies and the shows show us how men are acting, and that's what they're reference
Ah,
from. But it's not
mhm,
realistic because you see, a lot of women like bad guys. I'm sure you ladies,
mhm.
I know you guys are not like early 20s or 30s, but it's
No,
like
no,
women
no.
who, yeah,
Certainly
women.
not.
I understand. Women want those
Thanks for
kind of
that, though.
guys.
I mean, that's a nice suggestion. Thank you.
Oh, of
Mhm.
course, of course. But the thing is, a lot of women are fond of these bad guys. We have an influx of women right now, even in the church. It's okay. I got delivered for you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank
512
you.
Cannon. Yeah, yes. Yeah, so
America, the land, you guys, where
Thank you,
people don't
sir.
you're
stop
welcome.
working.
Have a good
They
one.
You
work
too.
every single day of their lives, these guys. Every minute
Yeah.
in America, people are working hard. So here's a hard-working man who joined the red pill movement because he wanted to understand women, the
Yeah.
nature of a woman. And the question I asked him is, why did he leave? Why did he not continue with it? What is it that he decided? I guess you learned enough, you'd had enough of it, or you felt disillusioned, or what, Neil?
Well, I'll say this. With the red pill situation, where it's at right now, I think we have to understand it's happening due to the fact that there's a lot of people running around doing things in this space because they want the money because it's such a popular hot topic. Keep in mind, um, don't get me wrong,
Ah,
I don't stand for it, but the thing is,
mhm.
it's happening now. All we
Yes.
can do as men and women is try to understand what's the cause of this. Because you gotta remember, um, feminism is the real reason why feminism is a real issue. Men are starting to walk away from relationships because, if I'm being honest, a lot of guys are not. They're so sick and tired of the mindset of feminism coming into the community and changing women's nature to think about family. But now they're thinking about it's like more. It's more about me, selfish. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Because marriage
mhm.
doesn't work like that. Even in the culture where we're from Africa, because I'm African no matter what America may say, because I'm more African, more born in an African home than American. So I say this: I don't believe in the modernism way of thinking, because it's more so changing for the worse, not for the better. And like I said, a lot of even I've experienced this dealing with African women. I've seen African women leave their country, come to America, and change for the worse. Why? Because the culture gave them this idea to think you are more in this. And it's like, well, no, because that's not what God gave us that purpose to be here. He didn't give you this right to just be here just only because you have the right to buy more food, buy clothes, have a job. You're more than that. But the thing is,
Okay,
no matter
yeah.
how much college, yeah, no matter how much college degrees you get, that's not going to make you more more desirable. It's
Okay.
not about the education.
Neil, let us respond, and then you can keep in
Yeah,
there, you can stay in there and continue
yeah,
to
yeah,
respond. Let's share a little bit more and get other people and get people's comments on here. We have some people who have joined us on the stream, and at the
yeah.
same time, we also would like to share a few more videos and listen to our perspective, because you see, as Kenyans, we're trying to raise the awareness within Africa, within Kenya specifically. I'm sure you've heard of the Mr. Brandon Odera situation.
No.
I don't know whether you've heard about him. This young man who has come as a passport bro and started
Oh.
using pretty bad words on Kenyan women. And this is
Oh
the reason
wow.
why we're just trying to raise awareness, because we have this 16 days of
Yes.
activism against gender based violence. So we're just trying to
Yes.
see the linkages between some of these movements, or, communities, or fads. Could I call them fads? And the potential to violence, or to lead to like you said, misdirection of both men and women in relationships, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes. So I do agree with you, and I hear you, and I really appreciate, your perspective. And,
Not a
we
problem.
really like you to join us and continue to be one of our family members as you continue working. So let me hear from Susan and also read some of the comments here. Let me first of all read the comments here. Thank you. So kindly mute your microphone so that
Yeah.
we don't hear the background as you're delivering.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
So let's see here. Fia is saying same story in the UK. This red pill movement. Tell us, expand more. Expound on that, Fia. What do you mean same story? Americans can explain better, but the same story in the UK. Yes. There's okay. And then Elvin is saying no. Elvin is saying maybe. Other times he's saying yes. I don't know what he's saying yes and no and maybe to. I think he's maybe responding to, what Nia was trying to say. But Susan, do you have any way to
Yeah. Thank you really for sharing your perspective, Neil. We really appreciate that. And again, it's about um, coming out of a relationship and seeing that, wondering, where things went wrong, and wanting to understand women. And as Queen Mo said, was that the right place really to find out, how women think or how women behave? Was that the right space? The red pill movement, is it the right space? Because that's likely to be a male dominated space. And men and women, we don't think the same way at all. And once you accept that, then we can be looking at the same thing, and I will see one thing and you'll see another thing. Women generally, we speak much more than men, and men speak less. That's just the way God created us. I believe that's how he created us. And I think our sense of when we're looking at the definition of what the red pill movement is there some tendency for people not to accept responsibility for uh, their actions or their contribution to a certain situation. And maybe it's important to look deeper into the issues, because we're really, we're sad that you went through that really difficult experience that you did, that made you go to look for answers elsewhere. But I think, from how you're speaking, I think you're a church going person. Am I right, Neo? Yeah, I think you are, from the way you're speaking. And really, some of these answers, as a believer,
Yes.
getting into the right space there, and getting God to help you through the pain that you're suffering, is actually the right forum. But these type of movements, which sort of um, see the world in terms of everything, things are going to benefit women more rather than men. And by the way, the gender issues affect both men and women, because some men are affected more in some areas than others. Um, we in our research, we found that actually men score higher in terms of the number of men who have been emotionally and psychologically abused in the US than women. And so when you're talking about that pain, we can sort of connect with it because of the statistics we've seen. We can understand where you're coming from. And really, there's a need for healing anyway. After coming out of a really painful relationship, there's always that need for healing. And it's really trying to get things into perspective and getting that balance that you need to be able to move to the next stage. And we would encourage you, like you observed, we are older ladies, that we would encourage you not to be afraid of relationships with women, because that's the way God ordained. He said, man will leave his wife, his home, and the man will leave his home, and the woman will leave the home, and they'll come together as man and wife. So there's still that opportunity, and but for us, the answer is not the red pill movement. I think it makes people, and like you said, there's some good things and some bad things in it, but I think these type of movements, because they're coming from a position of um, as a reaction to something, they're not necessarily the best spaces to find answers, to the type of issues that you were raising. um,
Can I add
um,
something there, Susan, just briefly, and then you can continue? When I looked at the red pill and I saw what they call the dating tips for young men, what they give are the dating tips for young men, they divide women into two categories, into high value and low value women. That is kind of dehumanizing a woman. So say a low value woman and a high value man, a high value woman, a low value man and a high value man is very dehumanizing, because we all have intrinsic value just by being here. We have value. For you to have actually been here, to be born is a miracle. Do you know how, the chance, the probability of you having made it into this world and to live up to adult age? Do you know what kind of, privilege it is? How much value you have? So, first of all, let me not go into that, but they're saying the low value woman, this is how they describe it, okay? The red pill. They say that the low value woman would respond through shaming you. This is Kevin Samuels. I'm sure everybody knows this gentleman called Kevin Samuels. If you don't, please look him up. He's
I can
one of
speak
the
on them.
pioneers of the red pill movement. Yeah, and he was describing a low value woman as a woman who responds in arguments by shaming. So, for example, like when he criticizes, he's a black man, black American man. When he criticizes a black woman, a woman, the low value woman will respond by saying, "Remember that your mother is black." So for him, that is considered shaming. That's a shaming tactic. She will also use insults. Okay, that's a low. He calls her a low value woman. Okay, the way he handles, he doesn't the woman doesn't handle the issue properly. She handles it emotionally. That makes her a low value woman according to the red pill. Okay, not according to me. According to, she takes you on a guilt trip. She manipulates you. Yeah, guilt tripping, manipulative. Yeah, she's actually more of a liability. She's a burden. She's a liability. She has many demands on you, financial, emotional. So she's a low value woman. Okay, so let's show. Oh yeah, and this, the other one that he says, that's the biggest one, is the need to be right. And you see, like Susan said, women speak 25,000 words as opposed to men's 5,000 words. So what tends to happen is that you have many more things to say about a topic, just
Well,
naturally, just
well,
by being a female. Now, I'm
quick.
just finishing. Let's
Okay,
all of us finish, and then you can come in. We'll give you a chance, Neil. Okay.
okay. I'll comment on the
So we're
canvas then.
talking about the low value woman. Now let's talk about what they call the high value man. Okay, of high value woman. Sorry, the high value woman is, first of all, the first thing he says is that she's attractive and appealing. Don't ask me where that came from, but she's appealing and attractive. So now this is visual, okay? And her attitude is one that lifts and builds a person up, like what Neil was saying, about a woman being supportive, building people up, which is a positive thing. Yeah, that a woman who is high value will be liberating, will help you to feel liberated. Okay, and she will be an asset in her femininity. She will be an asset. So this is the difference between what they call a low and a high value woman. And my issue is, actually, to be honest, this is just a person with all those traits. The way I look at it, a human being has positive and negative traits. That's how I look at it. Sometimes a woman or a man in the right energy or in the wrong energy can take up any one of these values. That doesn't actually determine whether they are high value or low value. It's about what energy they are projecting at the certain period can actually make you become somebody who is antisocial or not helpful or negative energy and positive energy, I would call it, rather than calling you a high or low value person, human being. It's very dehumanizing to use those kinds of terms, because if you think about it, especially coming from Black people, we Blacks, all of us, we're Black. This is how in colonial days, even in Africa, we were viewed as less than human. Black people were seen as less than human, right? And therefore, we were given a price. There was a price tag on us that actually gave us a specific value. And you came with a specific financial value, actually, trading value, yeah, based on your size, your weight, your age, your ability to reproduce, yeah, your strength, all that. You see, when you use those kinds of terminologies, you take a woman back, especially as a Black person. It means that you're actually dehumanizing that person and using terms that are not correct to use. I mean, I'm trying to be careful with YouTube, okay, guys, because we don't want to be thrown out of YouTube. Yeah. So what we want to say is, want to keep this video on. Okay. So let's be careful with our language. Be very, very careful how you state things, but try your best to, just state things, yes, but be careful. You understand what I mean as Black people. Black Americans have experienced enslavement. Okay. And that involved trading of slaves in marketplaces, of enslaved people. I don't call them slaves. Trading of enslaved Africans in market spaces. Okay. In Africa, we experienced colonialism. That was the only time that we ever considered anything to do with value, where we actually felt that we of less value, of less importance, of lower than human. So when we talk about high value man, high value woman, when that concept is brought to Africa, it rubs us all the wrong way completely. Doesn't it, Susan? So and when we see it being used between Blacks in America, maybe you have forgotten the history. Maybe Black Americans have forgotten the history. It will rub us the wrong way. Let's not use those kinds of terms against each other to describe each other. Let's talk about negative energy, positive energy. I think that's really helpful to me. And when he talks about, when Neo talks about the individualism in America, absolutely, I agree with him. I agree with him on many things. There's a lot of things that influence women to leave their marriages in America. That is true. I haven't gone to the States, lived and gone to school in the US. I have seen it, live. They try to sell it. The American society will try to sell this individualistic beliefs or values. And if you're not careful, you'll forget where you came from and who you are. But on the other hand, one of the biggest problems with many people who move is that, unfortunately, you take a 21st century woman, pair her up with a 20th century man, and when she goes to America, the differences become too blatant, especially in that kind of context. Yeah, because for example, you see, even when you go to premarital counseling, one of the things that the pastors actually say and the counselors say is that one of the reasons why a lot of marriages do break up, and I'm not saying, Neo, that you are a 20th century man, certainly not, you don't sound like one, but I'm talking about the purely traditional African man who believes that when he goes to work, he expects a hot meal on the table. Yeah, he expects the woman to do all the household chores. He would expect the woman to look after the children, just as if he is in Africa. This actually happened a lot to a lot of African women. They would expect the woman not to go out after hours with her girlfriends from work or from whatever, and yet the woman feels liberated when she's in those countries. Again, some men have a tendency in Africa to put their hand on a woman, which is something that is not accepted or allowed in America. So many women decide, either because of emotional abuse or physical abuse, to actually leave their partners. And in most of the cases, these marriages were already fragile. They were already rocky back in Africa. So that when they go into an environment like America, yeah, that then prompts opportunity for the woman who is not under the under oppression or repression by her family back in Africa, where a woman doesn't have to a woman can actually think independently now. Finally, it is her decision to do what she wants to do back in America, because she already is liberated financially. In Africa, she may not be able to find a good job to take her children to school. You know, in America, education is free. You don't have to pay school fees. So if she has children, she knows that her children are still going to continue education. I can't tell you the number of women who remain with their partners in Africa just because of school fees. And as soon as the children graduate, the women follow their children off to America or wherever they are and never come back to Africa. Unfortunately, this is a problem that is global. It's not just American. And so, like Susan said, I think that it's the problem is that we're looking for answers and solutions within human beings. And human beings cannot give you answers and solutions to marriage. Certainly not. Or to finding the right partner. No, it has to be a higher being, the one who created us. So even if I don't consider myself to be a Jesus believer, I am very spiritual. And I do know that, we are spiritual people. We are, we're spiritual beings, and that we get our messages, spiritually. You can kind of tell, who should be your partner. But anyway, let me not go into that. Let me allow Susan to speak. I think I've hogged the space for too long. Susan?
I just want to add one thing. Actually, it also works the other way. We have people coming from the US with a bride. They're married in the US or other countries around the world, and they come to Kenya with, and this, let's say it's a Kenyan man who has married somebody from another country in Europe or in the US, and they come back to settle in Kenya. We have those. And you find that there's a lot of tensions in that family when they come back to Kenya. So it's really there's about the change in environment. So it works both ways. When you were saying, going with the lady from Kenya to the US, it also happens the other way. We have actually observed that. So some of those marriages actually don't last very long. And their tensions, and most of the cases, it's the man who sort of strays away from the wife in those type of situations. So maybe Neo can say what he was going to say.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, Neil, continue.
Oh, okay. It went off. Okay. Yeah, I want to speak on the Kevin Samuel thing. Um, that is something that I know about because I found Kevin when I went through my divorce afterwards, which was the healing season. It started when I was in COVID 2020. C virus for short. I'll just say C virus. And and that was when I realized he was speaking on things that my dad didn't tell me. I think a lot of men need to hear that because let's be honest, the high value thing and the low value thing, I'm not gonna lie. There are certain characteristics men and women should look at on both sides to know who a man or woman is. To avoid it, it's like saying we can't talk about what is not desirable. We have to understand men and women want desirable traits in a spouse, and I mean that because we ignore that stuff, we will be missing how to find a man or woman qualified to be that spouse. Now, I'm not saying everybody's qualified because it's not true. Everybody's not qualified. There's only a few who match that character for a future spouse, which I'll say we have many who are now coined the term to be a femininity, and men are never. You never see men talk about I have to be masculine to fit in. It's not the case because men are never told that. But see, now today's feminism is so strong, coming in other countries like a cancer. It's an issue. Now, Kevin coming into the picture was an impact on every culture, whether you're black, white, Asian, European, every culture got influenced by Kevin. Now, Kevin, he wasn't red pill, let's make that clear. He was not a red pillar. Those two are not in the same spectrum. Kevin made it clear in the past, as I've always tuned in to hear him, he made it clear himself, he is not a part of red pill. He speaks on factual data, statistics, And all his past live, he actually gonna go live tonight, even though he passed away in 2022, 2 years ago. He's going live tonight still. The moderator, the manager of his YouTube is still posting his stuff because his stuff is so impactful. People can still learn from it. It's educational, even for men and women who don't know half these things. And I think for a lot of young men, they need to focus on the right things while they're young and stop chasing women because even for women, they don't even know half the things their mothers don't teach them how to be a woman. I've come across many women as a divorcee dating who don't even know how to cook or not even clean. It's like that's an American thing for what I'm saying. But the problem is, this is an issue ongoing, and this has to be addressed because with the American society and the place it's at now, we're having more single women than ever, and that's going to be a problem if that keeps going. And I know other countries are suffering, like South Korea, China, Japan, are they're going through the same problems. And it's of course it's going to get worse if we don't understand the dynamic, which is, traditional is still the thing that works. The modernism is not working. It's just new ideas, new concepts. Oh, well, you have to make as much as me because I'm the woman that makes more money. That never works. That never works. And I think that problem is going to continue to get worse. And also touching on what you said about this, the word you're trying to put into that on the context what you made, Kevin made that term. It's called signs. So sign means shame, insults, need to be right, and that means signs. Yeah, shame, shame, insults, guilt, and yeah, signs. Sign S, insult I, guilt G, yeah H. Oh, same insult, guilt, need to be right. It's supposed to be signs. Yeah, so it's really what it means. That's where the term comes from. If you Google it, you'll see it pop up. It's actually on the internet now. So yeah, but now Kevin was a cornerstone to this stuff to get more information because it's not about that movement. That movement did not push that idea for him to speak on. He spoke on it because that man was a former divorcee. He was married twice, and he was going to get married again, but he passed away sadly in his life at 50 years old, 51. Had one daughter, and that was really what he had left, only one daughter. But Kevin was Kevin was a big impact to the black community the most, in my opinion. A lot of guys didn't have a father like that, and we all looked up to him as a place to know how to see our women, to know how to choose. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of people in America who claim to be wives. There are not many wives here. I'll just be honest, as an American born from African parents. Because I like you said, passport bros. I don't call myself that. I don't believe in that term. I believe men that should travel. As a Christian, I'd rather travel to find my wife at this point because here it's worse. It's very bad in a bad way. Uh, we need to understand because the young men are not getting the results to find in the spouse. They're trying to make this seem normal here, and that's really a lot to say. But I'll say it for the next time I come and talk. So I'll let my plane, let you go and talk. I say a lot.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to raise the issue about the Korean. You're talking about the 4B movement, I
Okay.
think, and the what I understand is that movement came out as a result of a young lady being
Yeah.
sexually assaulted, and the women came out in arms, up in arms, because they felt that it was not the case was not given the seriousness that it was needed, and so they reacted. They clamped back, and they were, objecting to the fact that the safety of women was at risk, and the government and the police and whoever else was involved in making sure that people are safe,
Yes.
they did not take that matter seriously. So it's actually a response to a violent event, and the women just gathered together, and they came together, and actually that's what that is about. And
Susan, can
women.
you describe the 4B movement for the rest of everybody else who doesn't understand it? And thank you very much, guys. In the comments, please go ahead and respond to one another. I see Louis there. Thank you very much, Louis, for your comments. And T, Kristen, Fia, Elvin, thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, it's okay. Express yourselves. And I hope that you're also going to interact in the comment section and be active, just like we are over here. And we'll raise your issues within the studio as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. So it means no sex, no dating, no marriage, no child. But I was listening to an interview
That came
by,
from South Korea, didn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. And why did it come from South Korea again, Susan?
Because there was an assault on a young lady, and
Yeah.
she was sexually assaulted, and the women came up in arms. They were not happy with the way the matter was handled, so they responded. They were sort of saying this is not a safe space for females, and so they came up with that, the 4B movement. But I was just
Yes.
listening to this video by,
Topic
it's
for
on,
another day.
yeah, Asian
That's
boss.
another separate topic altogether.
But
But
it's
that's good.
what's,
It's good that you've raised it, though. Yeah.
yeah, and
Hmm.
and so what I'm basically saying is that this was a reaction to a violent event, and and that's what happened. And I think it has been picked up in other nations, because of maybe the violence against women. And we're actually celebrating or looking into, there's the 16 days of activism. I don't know whether you know about that, Neo. And the rest of the viewers, the ones listening on the comment section and following the discussion, we know that we are going through the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and sexual
Hmm.
and gender-based violence. And this is something that the gender-based violence relates to both males and females. So we're looking at safe spaces, safe homes for both genders, and and that's what that movement's about. And it will be, the culmination will be on the 10th of December, when we celebrate the day when the Universal Declaration on Human Rights was passed. And so this is really what that response was, and I've seen it is spread around, and it's sort of like a reaction to keep to be safe.
Hmm.
And this is how the women have reacted. The statistics, for instance, in Kenya, show that women are more at risk of that physical violence is the experiences of physical violence is higher among married women. Of course, the case for married men is different, because this is in Kenya. I'm just sharing the statistics here. For married men, they're more likely, the highest statistic was from a teacher, and then somebody else, and then their spouse. The women come further down. I'm not sure what the stats are like in the US, but I do know that in all the other indicators except the emotional violence, the women show higher incidences of violence, although the difference is not so large.
Hmm.
So it's good to have this conversation, and let us go to the right spaces to help us to deal with these issues.
Hmm.
We can
Yeah.
have really traumatizing experiences, and when we react in such an extreme way, then there's an issue. This 4B movement, this the lady who's talking about it, saying they're not really saying that we're not going to date, or we're not, we're not going to have children, or we're not going to be married. Um, but like Queen Mo says, maybe it's something we can discuss more. But it is a
Hmm.
reaction to a violent event.
Yeah.
And women need safe spaces, um, just as men also need safe spaces, because we have
Hmm.
seen cases where men have been violated terribly, and they're less likely to talk about certain types of violation than women. So probably the statistics could be a bit different, but that's the way it is.
Hmm. Okay, let me see if I can play a few more videos here. If they will pick up. If they do not pick up, then I'm in trouble. Let me see here.
Queen Mo, who's on the chat? I can't see who's on the
Oh, you
chat.
can't see who's on the chat, really?
No, no.
All right. Let me see here if I first of all, I just want to try and see if I can play a few videos on here. I think what happens is yeah, but basically, Susan, yeah, I hear you, but I mean, it's a difficult topic. Let's just put it that way. It's a difficult topic. So who's on the chat? We have Louis. We have Fear, as you know, and then we have Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday says, is the red pill toxic masculinity? Well, let's ask more women about it. Laugh out loud. Is it toxic masculinities, ladies? Is it Fia? Is it toxic masculinity? The other person is Elvin. Elvin says maybe. That's one who says maybe yes. No. Louis says it seems like the red pill seems toxic when it does not benefit women. Susan, keep that one in the parking lot. You'll address that one. Louis, what are you trying to say to us here? Huh? That it's what? That it's toxic when it does not benefit women. Really?
Well,
Okay.
I mean, we can look at both
Let's see. Louis
sides.
Louis is also saying, let me finish all the comments. Louis is also saying manipulative women attracts manipulative man. This is a very angry, bitter man here. Louis is not a happy man. High value women. He also says, Louis says, high value women equals is married to the man of her children. The end. That's Louis. Louis is just extreme. He's one side. A high value woman is married to the father of her children. Period. The end. The end. The rest of them are not high value women. I guess, is it that true, Louis? The ones who are not married to the fathers of their children are not high value women. Okay. And T says red pill mainly just asks for equal treatment and reciprocation. So we have T. T says that the red pill mainly means asks for equal treatment and reciprocation. I think Neo would agree with that. Kristen says, so is I actually, it's unfortunate because I need to wear my glasses, but she's saying, so is Neo saying that the rise of red pill movement content is a direct response to the rise of feminism?
Yes, and I think they're the same. They're not different. Feminism is for the women, like you said. There's toxic masculinity. We can ask the same question: a toxic femininity to the feminism movement. Because if you think about both sides, they're not that different. They're pretty much what they're coming from in the same space. Feminism was created originally wasn't the case of women uprising and being having more rights to say they can do what they want, while masculinity, I mean, while red pill was created from a space of men tired of being misused and abused through the marriage laws that taking more income from them for the woman's sake to say he wasn't worth he wasn't more than worth this money that he was given from his job to take more to give away to the woman that didn't want him and used him for the financial gain. So feminism and red pill are not that different. I've heard this talk on another podcast, but the thing is, feminism doesn't have the benefits to help men. It's to help women, right? So
Okay,
we're looking
okay,
at
Neo.
two coins of
Can I
the
say
same
something?
spectrum.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
please.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's first of all define feminism for everybody's sake.
Sure.
Okay. Well, according to whatever is out here, right? What is feminism? Feminism is the belief in social, economic, and political equality of the sexes.
Okay.
Social, economic, political equality of the sexes. Although
Okay.
originally originating in the West, feminism is manifested worldwide and is represented by various institutions committed to the activity. Okay, that's what they say. At its core, feminism is the belief that women deserve equal social, economic, and political rights and freedoms. Over the years, feminism has focused on issues like the right to vote, reproductive and sexual freedom, and equal pay. Feminism has also explored racism, gender norms, self expression, and much more. So, Neo, what is it about feminism that you disagree with? Is it the belief that women deserve equal social, economic, and political rights and freedoms? Think about it in
Well,
terms of your, maybe if you have a
well,
daughter. Would you
well,
like your
well.
daughter to have equal,
I
does she deserve equal social, economic, and
I don't
political
think
rights and freedoms?
I don't think that's the issue. The
What
issue
is
with
what is
the
your definition of feminine? How do you see
well,
feminism
hello.
described as, or maybe how does what is feminism in your view? Maybe how do you
Okay,
see
so
feminism?
feminism has changed over the years. Originally, it wasn't what it was today because it was a first wave that was different. Now, the second, the third wave, now the fourth wave, it's not what it was in the past today in our society. Now, other countries like
Okay.
France, Sweden, they're following it like our societies today. If you look it up, even Australia is pretty much worse as us because what they're pushing, and I'll be honest, it's not good. It's really pushing a lot more towards the right is to say other things, which I won't name I'll say the alphabet community if you know what I'm talking about, the
Oh
rainbow
yes, that's
community.
okay. Yes, I
That
understand.
that is more towards their realm. That's what it is. I personally don't rock with
Ah.
any of them because the thing is, it's getting more out of control to the place where it's gonna look like, well, their rights are the same as theirs. But the thing
Mhm.
is, most women don't support that same view from them that think that's in it. But the thing is, they're changing because the dynamic wasn't originally that. Now, most women today I've talked to about this said they did wish they didn't have the right even to vote in America. Because the thing that they're saying to me is, well, I don't want to fight wars. I don't want to vote. See, that's the problem. They're not seeing that most women don't. Because even back then, they were fighting against it to not have it. But now, since they pushed the right, because the men gave them the right to do it, since they got it now, more black women have accepted it, which I don't know why. Because I'm thinking, well, the thing is, you're seeing more of the government involved in your life than your family. The family unit is being underrated for the government to take more of your family to help you better your lives. Because see, when the family is less involved, I mean, when the government is less, if the government's more involved in the family, you're connecting more to the government than your family being raised by God, which was originally what it was for God to have family together. But we have the government, you're losing more of that family's connection. That is an issue that's not stopping. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it will get worse because right now, even in marriage, I mean, more African American men have talked to, like I said, they're leaving the country to go find wives across seas. Now, am I supporting the bad ones? No, I'm supporting the ones that want to be married for the right reasons. But
Mhm.
like I said, feminism, my view is just simple as I don't agree with the new wave of it. I think the old way was help women get the right to vote, have a right to have an income. I get that. But this new generation of that, it's not the same as the past. It's been changed. You see what I'm saying? It's
Ah,
like the red pill. Yes.
interesting. Very
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, Susan, anything to say? Let me see. Let me take some comments on here because Susan cannot see them. Some more comments, Susan. T is saying statistics on dating apps show all the women go after the same top 10% of men. Behind
Bingo.
that number is men in the what? In the 80 to 90% range who do manage to court a woman. Ah, they are
Yes.
treated as placeholders and like they need to spend tons of money and acts of service with no reciprocation to make up for their supposed shortcomings. Really? T, that doesn't sound fair at all. I agree with that. That sounds horrific, actually. As a mother of a young man in his early 30s, that tells you my age there, Neo.
Yeah.
I'm already upset about that. But I'll tell you what, I also believe that there's a lot of false narratives that are also being told to women. I agree with you on that. That one is true. For example, and I think many women have started to pick up on that. A lot of women are saying that they no longer, a lot of women are saying that they want a family, and a lot of others are saying that they want to be child free. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's bad.
There are
Child
many
free does
people who
not.
are saying they want to be child free. They're saying that they want to be single for the rest of their lives. This is one side. This is this
Yeah.
toxic energy against marriage,
I don't
family,
believe them.
children. They want to just live alone, and they have their reasons. Women have their reasons for this. Okay, and
No, they
some
don't.
of the
They
reasons,
won't.
are the men, and some of the reasons are actually beyond the man to the governments themselves, and the fact that they don't give women enough maternity care, they don't give women adequate access to maternity care or help raising the children. They get problems with trying to find putting their children in childcare. They don't have enough childcare opportunities. You know, they know nowhere to raise your kids. It's too expensive to put your child in a daycare, for example. Women can't get help. Women are forced to put their careers on hold or to completely forget about their careers and become full-time moms. Some of the women
Well,
who want to pursue the careers. For example, let me give you a good example, Neo. You say you're an African who's been raised in the U.S. of African parents. So, for
yes, born
example,
American. Yes.
born American. So I had my son in America, had him in America, and then came back to Africa when he was young. When he was young, I had help. So I could continue with my career. Do you understand? So I could continue with my career and also be a mom so I could balance it. There was a balance. Why is it that it's so difficult for parents, not just women, but men and women, parents, to get help with their children in the US? And especially in the US, at least in the UK, it's a little bit better
Well,
because there's something called the benefit system, you know?
well,
So
the thing
at
is,
least over there.
with the benefits of the first, this is a first world issue. Really,
Yeah,
what it
it's a
is.
first world issue. It is a
It's not a third
first
world,
world
second
issue.
world. And I agree where you're coming from because you had no choice. But ideally, because I'm more traditional to the point where because I'm not married right now. So if I was to be married, I would rather
Do you
have
have
my
children, if
spouse.
I might ask? If I might
No, I
ask.
don't. No, I
You don't
don't.
have
No
kids yet.
kids.
Okay.
No.
Okay. You still have a
So,
chance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, I mean, because men don't get to have kids. They can always, well, depend on his health. They can have kids to a later age. It depends on how much they care for themselves. But not the point. But the thing is, the problem with the whole mindset, I think for me, I really don't agree with the whole my wife works and I work. I don't think there's enough money to buy back time with your children. I think one thing I really don't think women are realizing in America is that we tend to have this idea, oh, we can work our jobs and come home to our kids. But the thing is, you're
Yeah.
trading more time for money, and that money you get is never going to replace the time with your kids. My
Yeah.
parents both worked, and my mom worked in the day, comes home at night. My dad worked in the
Mm-hmm.
night, comes home in the morning. So they switched off days. My brothers and sisters were like raised in their own ways. They go to their own separate location. But here's the issue I have with this. I'd rather have my spouse work at home and be close to the kids because one thing I learned, the nature of a woman next to her child is more important than a job or more money because the money can never suffice that connection you need with your child. Because let's say right now, I study homeschool. I like the concept. I like what they're teaching because it's more towards Christian home in the name of Jesus type of learning, and also learning how to be closer to God and having better values. Because most children
Mm-hmm.
grow up in homes coming to high school or middle school, elementary, they tend to
Mm.
be more out of sync with their parents. They're more friends in their lives that are family than their actual families. That's a problem. And I never liked that idea because we
Yeah.
deserve those connections with our
Mm-hmm.
parents.
Yeah. Well, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, at least listening to Neo so far, Susan, what do you think about Neo? He deserves to be a passport bro. Neo, you come over to Kenya. You can come stay here. We will look after
Trust
you.
me,
Me and
we
Susan.
gotta
Yeah.
we have a
We will
it's
look
funny.
after you here. You're welcome to Kenya.
Let me
You're one of the
let me
passport bros we need here in Kenya,
Oh
not the
no,
ones
no,
not the
I don't
ones
even
that we're
consider
seeing out
myself that
here.
title. I don't even like that title. I don't call myself one. I just say I'm a man that travels because I'm
No,
a Christian.
I am sorry. I'm using it in a joking
She's
way. In
teasing
my
you. Don't
I'm
take her
Oh,
teasing you.
seriously.
Okay,
She's
don't
oh,
take it
teasing
okay,
seriously. Don't take it
okay.
seriously.
Thank you. Oh,
I'm
thank you so
saying
much. I will
you're
see
one
you
of the
soon.
people that we want to see here, back here. Come over here. Come over here. Stay on our podcast our videos. Come on board. Show us your face. And I hope that ladies are listening here in Kenya. Can you listen
Yeah,
to this guy? Yeah. He's the
yeah.
type of
There's
person who is very balanced. Yeah. But
well,
of
the thing,
course, one of
yeah,
the
is
things you
it?
realize, Neil, one of the things you realize is sometimes you choose your reality. You understand? I mean, we're not here
Yeah.
to I'm not here to like give you advice to tell you,
No,
you
no,
know,
no. I
unsolicited
understand.
advice. But you coming from
Yeah.
an African background, you understand if I decide to give you unsolicited advice and say that
Yeah.
you see, one chooses one's reality. There's ways to
Right.
make your lives easier through getting help because like they say it takes a village to raise a child. Do you understand? It takes a village. Yeah, Susan
Yes
and
and
I are both
no.
parents. Yeah, both of us are
Yes.
parents. I was a single parent for a very, very, very long time, and I had to use my education to get good jobs to put my child through school, because in Africa you have to pay school fees. He's an American kid. I had to put him in the best schools in Kenya. Do you understand? So I
Well,
had to
well,
go to work. So I had to
not
have
be,
help. Okay. It
not
would
be
have been
personal.
difficult. It would have been
No,
difficult. Yes, I know. I'm giving a scenario, and I'm also going to give you a different scenario. There are
okay.
Kenyans who are in America who have hired help. You see those grandmothers who come to America, some of them are hired to look after their children. Do you understand? Some of those grandmas, and some people also bring nannies from Africa to come and help raise your child so that you can continue. You can actually monetize your education, which your parents spent a lot of money and sacrificed to put you through school. So it would be very sad if you'd have to put that in the parking lot just because you don't have help looking after your child. I'm not saying that looking after your child 100% of the time is the best thing. Of course, it's idealistic, but you have to remember that people get their satisfaction in life through many different avenues. And when you have a female who is looking after her child full time, when she is probably a qualified doctor, qualified pharmacist,
But
qualified whatever
but
she is,
but
and
but
she
we're looking
can't.
at the past still. We're looking at the past
No,
right now still.
we're not going to tell women who are educated to stay
No,
home
no,
and
no. I'm
only
not
look
saying they
after
can't.
their children.
I didn't say only, but the thing is you have to add in the
Oh,
context,
yeah,
make it clear.
you did say
I
work from
did I
home.
did
You did say
I
work
did
from
say work
home.
from home, but that's
But
not the
there's
main
some
point.
cases that you cannot work from home.
But the
Like, for
thing is,
example, when I was
sometimes
in the UK, listen, Neil, when I was in the UK, I was actually working for a lady who was a doctor from Eastern Europe. Okay. A lady from Eastern Europe who was having to work from home because she had a young child, right? Her spouse was a teacher. And so what would happen is that at some point when she finished her work at home, she was even studying. She was studying to be, I think, a gynecologist or whatever. When she finally qualified, her child was still young. Now she needed to get up and go to work, out and meet her patients in the hospital. This woman cannot offer services from her home. She's a doctor, fully qualified doctor. Her husband is a teacher. She's the higher earning person in the family. So now we were trying to figure out what can we do to help her and help her husband. And by the way, they're a great couple. How can we help them? The immigration law in the UK allows, like, especially now, they have talked about skilled labor. You can actually bring skilled labor to come in and work as a carer or even as a nanny. They've discovered that a nanny or a childminder is considered a skilled worker in the UK. So now one can go as a skilled worker, as a nanny, to work for a household. Are you aware about that? So maybe some of the things that need to change are
yeah, but everybody's not gonna
the
hire a
policies
nanny.
and the laws to make it more possible for people to actually get into marriages that are healthy. Do you understand? So it may not be a factor of your woman or the man. It could be a policy issue that needs to be looked at, a legal issue. Susan is our lawyer here. Yeah,
Okay.
Susan, please come to the rescue. Come to the rescue
Yeah.
before Neil crucifies me here. Hmm.
No, no, no. It's not even the case. I just want to comment real quick. The thing is, the one thing I will say is this: the career stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a dating reference to know what I'm gonna say from American men's point of view, and men in general agree with this. We don't care about your career. That's not gonna factor the marriage. Let's just be honest. It's money. We don't care about your money. We care about your femininity more than your career, because your career is just a job, and a career says whatever you may do. Because let's be honest, a marriage is not built on a career job that's gonna let you work a job for a couple of years, and then when it got so tired of you, and then you work for them to retire to a certain age, they'll let you go and replace you with a younger woman. That's not more sustainable to a man's view. We're looking at your femininity and you're carrying yourself as a woman. That's the value you carry long term as a wife and mother. I'm just gonna make that clear because that's really the biggest thing many miss to know what men
Thank
are
you,
looking
Neil.
for.
Now you're talking about the red pill movement properly.
That's
Now
not
let's hear from Susan.
that's actually not red pill. That's actually men's desire for a family and a
That is
wife.
Kevin Samuels
No, no,
Incorporated.
no. That's not
So
his either. He didn't make that up. That wasn't even his idea. That's what it is. Most men
I have a
agree with
lot of
that.
videos here of Kevin Samuels. You want me to play them? Huh? So I
Well, it's
won't
not
play
about
them right now
playing.
because our time is almost
Yeah,
running. Neil, let's
yeah, yeah.
listen to Susan. Thank you for your points. You got your points. Got your points. You don't care about the woman's career, Susan.
It doesn't make the marriage. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. I just want to contribute further to the conversation. There's a comment there that from the the comment section, toxic when it doesn't benefit women, and already that statement is I have issues with it because um, the reason why women are saying there's toxic masculinity is that it is something that is harmful to them. And so how can you say that it's toxic because it doesn't benefit women? It's harmful to them. And we live in a society, anything that's harmful to men or women is harmful. And so it's but for women, we're saying something is toxic uh, because it's harmful to them. It's harmful to their safe space. It is harmful to their development. It is harmful to their health issues and all that. Um, the one thing I think we need to do when we're having these type of conversations, and as Queen Mo said, this is a tough debate and a tough question because what I can see is both feminism was really something that came about to really raise the status of women because women were downtrodden. um, our civil, political, economic, social, uh, and cultural rights were were not easily available to us. We know that voting from women, well, women just came the other day. It was men who were voting, and women started voting more recently. We know this is the type of environment that women were living in, and this is why the feminist movement came out. There are always extremes in anything, in any movement, whether it's political or whether it's a social um, a movement like the feminism movement. And definitely, what I'm seeing from the reading is that the Red Pill movement is actually a response to the feminism movement. But the thing is, have they really understood the underlying factors or reasons why there is feminism and why it came about? And these are the issues that would help us to really ensure that our responses are correct. you know I understand what Neo's saying, that you'd rather the mother stays home to be with the children. She can work from the house, and the man goes out. But have you thought of it this way, that there might be an instance where it's easier for the wife to get work outside than for the man? And what happens in that type of situation? We've seen it. We know America has gone through a time when it was easier for women to get jobs than men, even qualified men with degrees and stuff like that. We've seen, all countries go through different economic situations, but we know America is one of, say, the oldest, it is, say, the oldest, one of the oldest democracies in our world. And so we know they've gone through these times when women are actually the ones who are working, and the men were at home because they couldn't get the jobs. What do you say about that type of situation? And the important thing is for us to listen, to understand the situation, the underlying factors, not be so easily threatened by a situation that is, say, I'll use the word, is not atypical, where, say, things have been turned around differently, but that family will still survive because the women are the ones with their job. It's a pragmatic decision that has to be made, and the woman will go to work. So sometimes even the mental well-being of your spouse, when we're looking in the context of a marriage, is not sometimes, always, be it the husband or the wife, is important. And if somebody has those degrees, why shouldn't they use them? Why shouldn't they use them to benefit the family? um, and it's really a question of the couple really coming to a conclusion or a decision about how to run their home whilst respecting one another. It is not really healthy for one of the spouses to be to live a life where they are not fulfilled at all. you know they're not fulfilled at all. It's actually dangerous. Is it, be it the male be it the husband or be it the wife, that is not a good um, home environment. In fact, the absence of war, what is it? The absence of just peace is not the. There could be a brewing war, but it appears that there is peace. But it will eventually erupt because the person's potential is not being met, and this needs to be appreciated. In a home setting, and so it concerns me that the red pill um, is a movement that really sees women as gaining the advantages all the time. Um, and yet, we can give you examples. I mean, those are many examples where women have suffered because of being oppressed by males. I know some of the earliest cases of domestic violence, women were actually unalived because the police did not respond correctly to the situation. And these women would say, I'm not going to be alive tomorrow. I'm not going to be alive tomorrow. And nobody was listening to them, and it actually happened. And there's one particular story, I need to get the name, it's in America. And this particular case made them change the law because they realized, the police realized they did not respond to that situation correctly. The woman said, I am in danger. You need to get me out. She reported to the police. She did all the right things. But because of the society at the time and the way they viewed things, they did not listen to the woman and said, this is family manenos. Okay, manenos means things. So these are family, this is family business. And so
Yeah.
they did not want to interfere. And as a
Yeah.
result of that, we ended up with a fatality. But one good thing came out of it. The law changed. The way the police viewed reports from women that they were being threatened in their homes was there. But
Yeah.
the response to women issues is based on statistics, and this is something that men need to appreciate. And
This thing is very complicated, Susan, because, okay, first of all, just to help you with whatever you're trying to state there, it's like peace is not the absence of conflict, is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. That was said by Ronald Reagan, apparently, but I believe it was said by many people, being able
that's
to handle conflict, because conflict has to be there. We are not born in the same household and we're not even twins. So that's what they say in Africa. When you get married, you're not getting married to your twin. You are from different homes, different homesteads. And then we have to remember, where did feminism even start from? It actually is something that was propagated by the governments, by the society. When men went to war, women had to go to work. That's what actually happened. They removed the women from the households, women who were the wives, the ones that the men want right now. They were removed from their households because many men died at war. They were drafted to war, to the Second World War, and they went, and many of those women had to end up taking the places of men in factories. This is where it all started from, guys. Yeah? So now women now ended up having to increase their skills, improve their skills. They became the sole breadwinners for their children. This is the same thing that happened even in Africa. Yeah. During the colonial times, a lot of the men, and even in South Africa, if you look at South Africa, if you look and see the colonial times, many men had to be drafted into the mines to go and mine gold. Yeah. And they left their women at home to raise the children alone. Are those women not in their femininity because now they are the man and the woman of the home? Because the men used to go away for like 6 months to a year. Yeah. So does that mean that those women are not acting in their femininity because they raise? It's the same thing with African American women, Black American women. They had to take up the slack for the men who were drafted into the plantations. Many women had to raise children alone. Many women had to go into the houses and become, maids in the houses. Come on, guys, we cannot be operating without our history, without understanding the impact of history on our current modern life. We cannot be living idealistic environment and idealistic lives. And this is the reason why when women actually ended up taking over the roles of men in industries, they ended up gaining skills and they taught those skills to their daughters and their sons. We cannot undo history. We cannot go back and say, now women must stay home. And if you're not going to raise your child at home, then you're not operating in your femininity. Because even here in Africa, a lot of the most successful families you will find are families that where both parents are working formal jobs. Teacher families, let me give an example. The man is a teacher, the woman is a teacher. Mother and yeah, that is the majority of the jobs in Africa during colonial times were teaching and nursing. Yeah, so you'll usually find a woman is a nurse, the man is a teacher, and their children are brought up by the two of them. It doesn't mean that they're man. There's never a time I ever heard my own grandfather was a teacher. Yeah, his wife was also running the running the farm. There's never a time I ever heard anything in Africa where men would say you must operate in your femininity. You should stay at home and look after the children. I will do all the work, and you do nothing except work from the household. No, I think it's unfair to put these kinds of expectations on women. But on the other hand, I also agree with Neil that there are certain skills, life skills, that everybody must learn. Everybody must learn how to cook, to clean. Everybody must be clean. Everybody must, it's a matter of, like Susan said, it's an individual thing also for the couples. It's actually couples to determine, what dynamically works for them
But look at the
in their
difference
own
now with today,
household.
though, with the change of times. Everybody's starting to go home because they don't want to work. There's a thing called the she session. More women want to
Ah,
leave their jobs. That's the thing that happened. What does that
women
mean?
what?
That more women are leaving the workspace because they're tired of
Uh-huh.
working for companies that are
Yes.
paying them less. Now, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
this because every country is the same, but in America, we had a
Yeah.
problem with the COVID C virus. I'll say it like that. Is that
Hmm.
many were leaving because they
Hmm.
did not want to deal with the overworking, with the pay they were not getting. Now, see, that's the reason why I think
True.
many are going back because they realize, why would you want to be working for a boss you see every day who doesn't even like you, who doesn't even know you? You're just another worker. And you think I always tell ladies, I say, hey, so you work for this company for several years. You give all your life to this company, more than your kids and your husband. You're telling me this job is going to fulfill you better than your family? Now, the thing why I say is this: it doesn't. It gives you less in return to your family. Like I said, time is a currency you cannot get back. You give more to these companies, you're getting money in return for what? Less time with your kids still. The only vacation once a summer or spring or fall or winter. That's not ideal. Now, more things are coming up. We're saying, well, I'd rather stay at home because you got to look at, you might have to do a show on that because it's like, why would you want to be working more for a company and then you get replaced any day? You don't know that time. So I think the emphasis you're using on career is
Hmm.
not the case. I think it's just a matter of change because some people are realizing money's not the problem. It's the time they can't get back. I'm like, well, I get where they're coming from because even God, he said in the Bible, he said, woman, be keeper of your home. That's not a bad thing. It's because the heart is where the woman, the home is where the heart is. She has more authority at the house more than a man. Because the thing is, history never changes. It says
Hmm.
that history is doomed to repeat itself again. Now, more people are going home to work because they want to do close to home to work. And now people are homeschooling, which is good because our homeschooling is telling you right there where kids are surpassing public. And
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
college is not the case. I'm talking about K through 12 in most cases. But I would rather homeschool than put them in public school because these kids are being indoctrinated, which you already know.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
Neil.
and that's the
Yes, you're
problem.
right.
So yeah, K
Yes.
through 12, not
Yes.
college. College is totally they can't touch
Fully
the
agree
block.
with you, Neil. Yes, fully
Yeah.
agree with you, Neil. No complaints. Yes, whatever you're saying is true. Absolutely. It is true. In fact, during the COVID period, after COVID, a lot of people, both men and women, realized that they could actually make money at home and that they were being shortchanged by having to get up and go to work every single day. So there's a lot of people who have never gone back to the office situation, and many people trying to get out. You remember that there's a whole people who are resigning from their jobs, recently, just the other day. Everybody was quitting. Everybody was quitting. And now some people are trying to go back again though. Yeah, but there are a lot of people who are quitting their jobs. They realized that they were getting shortchanged at work. True, and in that particular sense, no arguments with you over there. What we're saying, I think Susan and I think we're all kind of saying the same thing, is that the family dynamics should be left to the family and not to the government. And I think that's what you're saying. There's too much interference by the government into the families, and this has actually created this kind of rift between males and females. Yeah, and especially between spouses. And I think, again, also the lack of emphasis on social, on life skills, which is what, for example, this is about the quality of education. Have you seen all those videos online? If you're on TikTok, you see all these kids in China, little babies, they're learning how to cook, they're learning how to sew. That's life skills. They are taught in nursery school. But in our countries, in Africa, maybe, I don't know, in the US, it's all about rote learning, memorization in classes, doing exams, memorization, things that don't even help. Yeah. So we probably need to look at things on a much wider scale than just looking at them in terms of trying to make enemies of ourselves. Because we have to remember that even people, even Black Americans, white Americans, it doesn't matter what color you are all facing the same system. It's a systematic issue. And we should be careful not to blame each other for it. Each one of us may react or respond in a certain way. And again, on the other thing the other thing I also say is that we should try not to influence each other against each other. So, because, like you said, we cannot all marry everybody. You only have one partner in this world and millions of people to choose from. One partner, and you definitely will find at least one or more people who match your way of thinking. The idea is, how do you find these people? How do you match with these people? How do you match with your person? Yeah, how do you match up with that person? Where do you find that person who shares your beliefs? Because at the same time, there are a lot of men who have decided they'll never marry. Many men who just want to cohabitate. There are men who don't want to have children. It's the same thing as women also who don't want. They also need to find each other. Yeah. But anyway, Susan, I think let me just play the final video, and then we'll have to cut it short here. Sorry, guys. We'll have to cut it short because I'm actually late here a little bit, but I wanted to leave it on a positive note. I hope I'm going to find that video. I hope I find something positive, because I don't want to find something negative at all. That's red pill. What's the real? Let me see if that one will play. Unfortunately, many of my videos are not playing today. I don't know. Somebody, my enemies, they say in Nigeria, my enemies are after me. Let's see if we can get this. Nah, it looks like, because some of my videos are TikTok videos, I think they won't play. I think that's the biggest problem I'm having here. So, Susan, continue while I try and get my videos together.
I think we're still answering the question: is the red pill movement toxic masculinity? So maybe we need to just go around and make concluding remarks on that, and maybe just keep the response very short, so that and also on the comment section, please, can you respond to that? Is the red pill movement toxic masculinity? So you can write them down there, and maybe we'll start. Neil, just a brief response to that. Is it? Do you think it's yes or no? Neil? Hello? We can't hear.
Susan, let me read you some comments from in here, yeah? From the guys in the comment section. Okay, so thank you guys for your comments. We do appreciate you. And some people are telling us to take it easy. I think they think that we're over. Elvin, come on, say something. Calm down, people. Take it easy. We have a prefect. We have a prefect in the stream. One of the best things about growing older is that there's some things that don't faze us anymore. We don't get emotional about such things.
Yeah.
So Louis says what? Majority of men think quietly what Kevin Samuels was saying on YouTube about what men want in a woman. True. He was just stating openly his thoughts. True, I agree with that. Some parts of the T says some parts of the red pill harp on femininity, and I think some go too far, but there is a point to be made that many just prefer the old femininity to the modern toxic femininity. T. Okay, I'll respond to that one later. Fia says, what Neo is saying is in marriage, a woman's work does not matter. Can you see how Neo people are taking your views here. And this is
No,
Fia. She
that's
lives
not
in
what
the
I
UK.
said. I'll
I
say it
don't think
again.
that's what Neo meant. I think he explained
I
himself.
was saying education does not define a marriage for a man and woman. It's just a job for application for qualification. It doesn't make one more desirable for marriage. Because let me say
Okay.
something: a PhD holder is not more valuable to me than the one that has a 4 year degree. It doesn't matter because you can have all the degrees. Because there's in America we have a lot of degree holders for women, but they're not women. They're more masculine to be like the job requires them to be, and that doesn't make more attraction for a career. A career is a job, and it's your job you do for the money. That's it.
Hmm.
Anything
Hmm.
outside of that, you try to add in there to say, "Oh, I have a PhD. I'm more qualified." That doesn't matter. You can have all the degrees and not be a good wife. Okay, remember that. It does not
True,
matter.
true. Yes, I think Fia would agree with you. I know Fia. She would definitely agree with that, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
nothing
T
about
Yes,
says,
display.
T
degrees and
says,
not be a good
let me
wife.
read some more comments and then we close. I know Susan is really late. By the way, it's a bit late over here. We need to be going. We're in Kenya. For those of you who are asking where we are, we're in Kenya, Nairobi, and yeah, GMT +3. Yeah. So T says doesn't represent the men that care about actual character traits like kindness, but it does show those men how superficial Western women have become. Oh, let's not blanket state Western women. Do you know how many friends I have over there who are wonderful? But let's just say maybe women who have bought into the Western, whatever is being sold as Western ideology on what a woman's supposed to be, a hard, tough, independent woman. Okay. I used to be one of those, by the way, and that's the only way I survived. It's a survival. Usually, it's a survival trait. Louis, high value man does not equal money or being rich. High value man is a man that has children from his wife and can provide a stable life home. Okay, Louis, that's right. That's right. You're also welcome to Kenya. Karibu sana. T should be that we don't let the standard for what women want in men, and unfortunately, most just want money and looks. Okay, what women want in men. Women, did you hear that? Men think all you want is their good looks and their money. That's not good enough. You got to be kind. Okay,
See,
ladies?
see, you
And
haven't met the right women.
there are some women, yeah, but he's got a point. There are many women, I would agree, many of them say, forget it. I'm not going to date. If you don't have money, forget about that. Okay, so character, who is this? Chadancel. Okay, so he says, red pill promotes abusive male behavior. That's toxic. Hmm. Yes, 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 yes. I would agree with that too. Except we don't have enough time to discuss it. But I think I'm seeing Neo's point that the red pill had its purpose, I would say. But I think that there's a lot in there that needs to still be uncovered. I think we need to continue talking about this issue. Louis, I think there are very many comments in here. I'll just take one or two more comments and then continue. Louis saying, I subscribe. Enjoy the discussion. Karibu, Louis. Yes, welcome. Fia is saying, Louis, welcome. Yeah, even Fia is welcoming you. Yeah. We're nice people on here. We like to listen and we don't get like nasty towards people. Even if you get nasty towards us, we just laugh at you. Okay. What else is that? Louis is saying that nature finds a way. I agree with this quote. No matter how educated and wise a person can be, nature finds a way. Absolutely. Ask the rivers and the streams. They all find a way. Mm? So, and on that note, I think, Neil, I really want to thank you because you know what? You brought so many people to us. I don't know where they all came from because I think you're a man. And we're really happy that you're here and that you've managed to
No problem.
survive the discussion with these two old ladies. But we really thank you
Oh, you're
for
my
being here,
elders.
even as you're working, and
Yeah.
wish you the best. We wish all the men in our stream the best in relationships. Relationships are not easy. It takes sometimes years to find the right partner, but always, think positive and don't change as an individual just because of another person. Be you, you know. That's all. Be authentically yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's very easy to change just because the environment is toxic. You also become toxic. No, no, no. We need you to just remain yourself because, like Louis said, nature finds a way. I really truly believe that. Nature finds a way. Yeah. And karma also finds a way. If you're good, I believe you also attract positivity. Yeah. And I think Neo keeps on coming off and on.
Yeah, I don't know
Susan,
what happened. My phone
Susan,
went
would you like to
sideways.
say something? Neo, your last sentence, and then
Okay.
Susan, her last sentence, and then we close, please, kindly.
Okay. You want to go
Hmm.
first, Miss Susan? I'll go.
Um,
There you go.
You go first, Neo. It's okay.
you
You
go
go
first,
first because
Neo.
Susan is one of the hosts, so it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Um,
Thank you.
Final
Hmm.
thought. No problem. Thank you. First thing, thanks for having me on. Just want to speak on this because I think we have to understand the difference. I don't think men are more issues to the society than anything. I think we are part of the issue, but we're not just the one person who, the saying goes, it takes two to tango in this society we're in. So if we're gonna point at men, just point at both sides to understand both differences because there is a reason why both sides are the way they are, and it doesn't take one side to make the other side the way they are either. So, other than that, thank you for having me on, and I pray we all learned something today. And just like I said, just keep learning and keep doing research and just try to understand both sides. Don't be a one side. That's all I can say.
Leo has said, be balanced, everybody. Be balanced and learn and seek knowledge and pursue
Yeah,
it. That's what the Bible says. Seek knowledge and
certainly.
pursue it.
Yeah, people perish for the lack of knowledge.
That's true. Certainly, let us learn to listen, to understand, rather than to listen to respond. And I just want to highlight that my understanding of the two different feminism and the red pill movement. Um, their origins are not the same, and you know, and that needs to be understood. And I think, in my view, the red pill movement really did not understand why the feminism well enough. And also, I don't think, and this is my opinion, that such movements are the proper space. And I'm talking about any movement that anyway, it's not the proper space to address these issues, because the very subject matter was missing from that discussion. That is, the women are missing from that discussion. And so, in my view, I think the red pill movement is leaning towards toxic masculinity. That's my view. Um, and and it's, when I look at the definition, it's certainly leaning in that direction when they're talking about women being vain and vacuous, um, and also selection of partners based on certain physical attributes. I don't know um, how that conclusion was reached. How that conclusion was reached. um, and also, just the other things like monogamy and marriage are to solely to the interpretation of that is to benefit women. I don't know how that was reached either, because women are the ones who are in those type of situations, are the ones who are most at risk. um, and also, you know even I think it's important for us to really to understand the two issues very well and at a deeper level. And I think at the end of the day, the world will be a better place if we go to the correct spaces in which to address these. I mean, I think this is these type of issues that the churches, our religious places and spaces, are the best place for those of us who are Christians. Those are the best spaces to help us to go through traumatic events that have resulted in certain extreme conduct. Although we do know that in any movement, there's always extremists. There are always people who are trying to push the levels, and they end up spoiling the general narrative of
Hmm.
the correct narrative, or the
Hmm.
correct messaging in a certain response. So,
Hmm.
in my view, I think there's still a lot of debating that we must do and we must have on the issue, but I think it comes from a point of one side not really understanding the other, and really to
Hmm.
see at the end of the day whether this is really the panacea, this is really the cure, this is really the direction that the men should be taking in order to address the issues. Because to me, this is a standalone issue. The men red pill is a standalone issue. Uh, and so we really need to look at what really is the right response in the situation. And that's it for me.
Yeah. And I'm going to end it on a very interesting note to jog your thoughts over the weekend, because we're back here on Monday. On Monday, and we're going to be talking about the similar types of things on Monday. We're going to try and attempt the manosphere. Very interesting thing. But guess what I saw? I saw the Chinese women, wondering aloud why Chinese men are going after African women. Yeah, they seem to have a specific interest in African women, women from the continent. And so, guess what I saw? I saw an apology. Chinese women apologizing to their Chinese men. Can you believe this? Ha! You guys go and do this research. Go find out. This is your homework. Go and find out, why are Chinese women apologizing to Chinese men. Okay? That's your homework
I
for
saw
this
that. That's
weekend.
real.
Did you
That's
see
real.
that? I thought it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
quite
it's real.
interesting.
It's real. Yeah, because they're
It's
leaving.
real.
The foreigners are
Yeah, they're
taking
feeling
over.
that they're going to be left behind, because a lot of African women are kind of like, hey, the most amazing situation going on there. But okay, we leave it on that note, and because we have to leave, it's a rather late over here in Kenya, and we wish you the best and say good night, and kwaheri, and bye bye, and good day wherever you're writing from, or watching from. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Toodles.
Bye. Thank you all.
Kwaheri ni. Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye, Neo. Okay.